Welcome all to episode 20 of the Remote Play Gaming Podcast. RPGP crew here, -1. It's been maybe 10,235 days since Curtis's last showed up, but you're here with me and Evan. Evan, what's up? How are you doing?
Only 10,000 for Curtis? It feels like it's been longer. But
I mixed up the amount of pixels he likes in his games with the amount of days he's been gone.
Oh yeah. Maybe he's counting all the pixels in one of his screenshots, or something in one of his games. So I did that, but it took me like 3 minutes. So but we miss Curtis, right? Hopefully we get him back here for our year-end wrap-up episode for next episode, but or maybe we see him in 2025. But I don't know. Ready to talk some Game Awards though.
Yeah, Game Awards or the Keeleys just happened. Jeff Keeley, host of the Game Awards. Usually negative connotations to this afterwards, right? Everybody's like, oh, it's just a big advertisement thing. But it really is like for the industry people, because if he didn't do it, I mean, nobody else would. So I think he deserves some kudos for that, even if he does, take money and get advertisements going. But let's dive into what the awards were, and then we can do the announcements after that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I almost felt like an apologist last year after, when we did our episode after the Game Awards or leading up to it, just like he had all the, the wrap it up type of stuff or whatever, and like, it's just like, that sucks. But it's like, obviously the ads, the trailers and all that stuff are really what makes it possible to make the event so big. But it seems like he figured out a good balance this year, a good compromise. At least it wasn't glaringly obvious to the viewer that he's given the iconic award winners like Aiji Onuma, the shepherd's hook and pulling him off stage, during his acceptance speech, So it felt good. And then, the stream of the steady stream of awards or trailers and announcements and stuff was pretty great. So so we'll start with my favorite category here, best esports team. I'm just kidding. I don't know any of these ones. Do you want to announce them here, or do we want to? Yeah, we'll just kind of go through some of these awards, announce the winners, and then just kind of talk about which ones stood out to us. As opposed to going through each one individually, we'll just kind of go through some of the winners, or all the winners rather. And
we'll just rip through.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so best esports team, we had Billy Gaming, Gen.G, Navi, Team Liquid, and T1, with T1 being the winner. Not a big category for me. I just don't have the time to do esports stuff. Anything here for you before we go to the next one?
Nope.
Best esports athlete, 33, Alexis B, Chovy, Faker, Ziwu, and ZimJJKK. Faker was the winner here. You chose Faker, right? In our little pick 'em
in our predictions. Yeah. So this was one that helped me get the win in our Discord on the predictions. I was the the one with the crystal ball apparently. So we did a little predictions in our Discord, and it was pretty fun, predicting the winners. And I picked Faker because I felt like a faker picking the winner here, because I have no idea.
It's totally based off your knowledge of this guy, right?
Yep. Yeah. I have no idea who any of these guys are.
Best esports game, Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, League of Legends, Mobile Legends, Bang Bang, and Valorant. League of Legends is your winner here. What'd you think of this category?
I mean, again, just no more esports for me. I picked Valorant. I thought League might have been a little fatigued. There might have been a little league fatigue, I guess. When I think of I think of the NBA, and it's like people stopped voting for LeBron as MVP because he got it so many times, and it's just kind of like, all right, it's got to be somebody different at this point. And you hear that, so I was wondering if League was that, but guess not.
Yeah, I selected Counter-Strike 2, and I'm surprised it didn't win, but League's certainly deserving, I think so. Sure. Next one, Content Creators of the Year. You want to roll through this?
Yeah, so we got Queso, Olajuwon is what I'm going to say, because it looks like Hakeem Olajuwon, but spelled a little different. Techo Gamers, Typical Gamer, and Usada Pecora.
Yep.
And it was Queso as the winner.
And I'll be very honest, this is the only dude I know, although I've seen things about Usada Pecora.
All right.
Most anticipated game. Was there any ever doubt? Go ahead and read these off.
Yeah, so Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghost of Yotai, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds. And shocking no one, Grand Theft Auto 6. I think this could have been the most anticipated game of the decade, most anticipated game since Grand Theft Auto 5, right? Maybe, or even of the century. I don't know. This might, because of the 12 years, right, that we've had since GTA 5. This might be the most anticipated game of all time.
What if it was announced last year and won most anticipated game this year or last year and this year? Do you think that's possible? Like it was a 2-year launch window?
Right. I for this game, I could see it being possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be. Gosh, that would only almost be like if there was like you could like nominate a DLC for a game that came out a couple years ago, and then also nominate that for the game of the year after it already won the game of the year. The same game, wouldn't that be insane?
Well, that would be so weird, right? They would never do that. All right, best adaptation. So we'll spend like maybe a minute or two on this one because we actually had a little bit of discussion of this with our fans in the Discord. Shout out, plug to the Discord. Please join. It's always in the comments of both the podcast audio form and YouTube video form. Discord, huh? Yeah. Best adaptation. We had Arcane, Fallout, Knuckles, Like a Dragon, Yakuza, Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft, with Fallout being the winner. And I think we had a bit of discussion, Evan. What is the better show, Arcane or Fallout? And what's the better adaptation? What do you think?
Yeah. So, I think the best adaptation probably is Fallout in terms of when I say adaptation, right? The show that felt the most like the games, right? The games in the franchise. There was a strong argument. Arcane was very critically. I mean, so was Fallout, but they're both critically acclaimed. But Arcane is, I mean, just kind of a show of all time. One of the better shows of all time type of acclaim that it's getting, right? Especially from an animated perspective. But the adult animated show or the more mature animated show is probably what kept it from being as culturally relevant, right? As Fallout. Where Fallout is just that like anybody, you don't have to enjoy video games or a specific niche of TV, right? Like it's just kind of hit the masses where I don't think Arcane necessarily did. Have to be at least a little bit into some. There's a lot of people, right? A lot of adults that just have or they're a little hesitant or feel that just like, oh, if it's animated, it's childish, or it's got to be like a family thing, right? A family movie or family show to watch. Cause like, it's almost similar to like adults that play video games, right? Like sometimes you just get,
a stigma. It's a huge stigma against it, right?
Yeah. Right. And so that was kind of the discourse in the Discord, right? It was that's probably why Arcane did not get it. Is just because there's that stigma with animated shows. So it probably just didn't get as much of a, I am kind of curious about that though, as, a lot of the, the panel that votes on all these awards is, they're gaming outlets, right? So,
yeah, it's true.
So I do wonder if it, it says, outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game to another entertainment medium. So I wonder if that was maybe really was the thing that took that took Fallout to that, right? Just the fact that it is so faithful to adapting the video games. Because I think I love Fallout. I love the show. It's probably my second favorite video game franchise ever. But I wouldn't disagree that Arcane was just a much better done.
Yeah,
show,
I mean, right? Quality it's better, right? And that shows in like Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, like literally any scoring metric, it's head and shoulders above Fallout. Not that Fallout was bad, but
Yeah. Fallout was great. It's just Arcane was, like I said, just kind of one of those, like, almost a greatest of all time, possibly a greatest of all time type of show. So, but it really does nothing to adapt League of Legends as a video game,
a
right?
small slice of a backstory of a several set of characters versus
there's no part of Arcane.
There's no like MOBA on the show.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't. Yeah, you don't watch Arcane and think, "Wow, look at this MOBA adaptation." Like it's where it's like Fallout. You could see the the role playing, the exploration, right? The
world building. I mean, literally extrapolating all of that. I mean, and the property kind of lends itself more to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And and then so I think it makes sense that for those, I'm sure it was for between those two. Knuckles, I'm sure it was pretty good. I actually I don't think I've seen Knuckles, or is Knuckles
that's
just
the TV show. That's the Knuckles
TV
show.
Okay, that makes sense. I was like, that was Sonic 2, right? And then that makes sense. I forgot that. Yeah, I definitely have not seen the show. I'll probably have to watch it with the kids, but I mean, I appreciate what the Sonic movies have been doing. It almost makes me feel like Sonic kind of came out and that allowed for like something like the Super Mario Brothers movie to shine as well, right? Obviously, the Super Mario Brothers outshined the Sonic movies, but the Sonic movies are I think are great for what they are. I mean, they're certainly not going to win any like critically acclaimed awards or anything like that, but it's kind of like the Super Mario Brothers movie, right? Like it's not some like I don't know what the word I'm looking for, super high quality, but it's great as a family entertainment, right? It's just like something. My kids love the Sonic movies, right? They love the Super Mario movie. I'm glad I think it's good that they exist for the Sonic property, and really just as a Sonic fan myself.
Yeah. All right, let's roll to the next one.
Sure.
Best multiplayer. So we had Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. And the winner is Helldivers 2. Were you surprised by this?
I don't know how Super Mario Party Jamboree didn't win this category. I mean, that's all anybody's been talking about, right? No, I don't think so. I could have seen it being in Call of Duty, just because this was really a the buzz phrase I'll use is return to form for Call of Duty. Right. So but I think it's really a great category. I mean, Warhammer got some more attention for what it is, but it's more of a traditional campaign with tacked on multiplayer in a way that I think is probably nostalgic to us and something that's pretty cool. But but I think it doesn't necessarily it's just not going to compete with the more service oriented games like a Call of Duty or Helldivers in this space in 2024. I don't think Tekken 8 super critically acclaimed, great fighter, but it's a niche, right? It's kind of like if Forza Horizon was in here, it's going to be a similar case, right? It's probably not, it might win, but it's more of like, it's a popular niche. It's weird to call it niche because Forza gets 50 million players.
It's
or
a
whatever,
different market, right?
Yeah. It's just not seen as the same
compared to Blops and Helldivers.
Yep. And then Mario Party Jamboree is supposed to be the best Mario Party, at least on the Switch, right? They just improved on each of the 3 Mario parties. But I mean, it's just kind of, I feel like it stands out more as just a family fun game or something, as opposed to I think like for a Nintendo multiplayer game, it's got to be like Splatoon or Mario Kart 9. I'm sure will be in this category when it comes out, or Smash. But Mario Party Jamboree is just kind of like
it has to be more of a mainstream.
There's not a hyper competitive scene, right? So, or really even a strong competitive scene.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised Helldivers 2 won, just given the controversy that the game had, and that they had some leadership, and they were getting in a lot of trouble for like nerfing weapons and taking stuff away. So, that the game is awesome, and the whole concept is awesome, and the way they continue to support it. But just given the controversy around it, I'm a little surprised it won. I kind of expected Call of Duty here.
Sorry, I agree.
All right, let's pop over to the next one.
had a
You're
yelling
fine.
kid, so I had to mute. And
No, it's all good.
it's not a sheep. It isn't a sheep. It is it was a child.
I didn't hear it at all. So,
Oh, okay, all right. I thought you heard it at first there.
nope. So best
I don't
sports
know what to
and
do.
racing. A little bit of controversy here. I'll read these off, and then you can explain the controversy, and I'll try and keep you from going an hour on this one because I know you're hyped about it. F
I did the first time around,
124.
right?
Yeah. F124, EA Sports FC 25, that's the FIFA replacement. NBA 2K25, Top Spin 2K25, WWE 2K24, with the winner being EA Sports FC 25. But what do you think should have won this category?
Definitely an EA Sports game. And it's called College Football 2025. And I don't know how this was omitted as a nominee, let alone, I mean, this to me was hands over fist. Is that a word or phrase? But this was easily NCAA, or I'm sorry, it used to be called NCAA. College Football 2025
Yeah.
should have easily been the winner of this category. Like not even close. Critically, it scored better than any of these on Metacritic, right?
Except for
I think
WWE. Yep.
No. It was still higher than WWE. It was an
it?
83 and WWE was an 81, right? So the rest of these are in the
think you're right.
70s.
Yep. You're
And
right.
so college football had the highest Metacritic score. It didn't outsell something like FC. Nothing really outsells FC other than maybe Madden. But it's like, but it sold out. Actually, no, it was the best selling game of the year. I'm pretty sure college football is the best selling game of the year. Maybe outdone by Call of Duty at this point. But I'm pretty sure it has outsold literally every other game, not just sports game, not just sports or racing game, but literally every game in the year. So it's a commercial success, right? It's critically successful, more successful than any of these. And it's loved by it was pretty loved by the community at least when it came out. EA was like it actually tried to do some innovative stuff with this. It's almost being seen as like what EA, like, oh, hopefully EA just uses this as a way to like innovate the football sim, and then maybe push things that are successful through it into Madden, right? Where the Ultimate Team is real, just the money maker or whatever. But obviously Madden is omitted from here. But it just insane to me, And I did, I do wonder. I'm like, is it just something that like, from a global perspective that it's like, I know like college sports specifically, especially I'm sure college American football is not going to be necessarily globally relevant. So like the success of this game was purely US or at least North America, right? But regardless, it was the best selling game this year, a top 2 selling game this year. It was, like I said, I don't know if Call of Duty outsold it.
I've got some numbers up on it. It's the best selling American football game ever by US dollar sales. So these are all US dollar things. So
American
that kind of goes
football
to your
game
point
or American
about global.
college football game.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
It's the best selling American football game ever by US dollar sales. So you're thinking college football, Madden, 2K, all that stuff. And then it's also the second best selling sports game in the US ever, only beaten by NBA 2K21.
So
again, these are all US sales. So that kind of goes to your point of how popular is it around the world, but still it scored better than all of these games. The fact that it's not even on the list is a crime.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing something. It came out in July this year. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I don't know how this got this missed the list. Like, I don't know how this missed the award, the winner of the award, let alone missed the nominations. Like, it just blows my mind.
I'm gonna have to Google after this and see if there's anybody talking about it.
Right. Because so outside of this, like we kind of said in the beginning, like this was generally a pretty well received awards show, right? But this to me is the one thing that just blew my mind, right? That and just really like almost discredits the show. Now, at least discredits this category to me. It's like this. It's a lot of there is still a lot of like discussion to have, right? About whether journalist panel list or like just industry journalists are, as the panel being the ones that are selecting the awards, is the, you know, what that does, what that means for the quality or the integrity of the awards themselves versus like, a lot of others where it's like the creators themselves are picking. You get something like the BAFTAs, or I want to say the Joystick Awards or something, some of these other awards where the creators of the content, the developers, right, are the ones that are, or the directors of the games and stuff like that are picking the awards, which, puts that more in line with something like the Oscars, right?
Yep.
But yeah, to me that I just absolutely nutty. Can't believe that.
Yeah, and I think it also matters. I don't know who the 100 journalists things are for this, but I can't imagine they're all U.S. based, right? So you get like Eurogamer and stuff in there. Maybe they just literally didn't play it. Whereas we know football is a global sport. Sorry.
Yeah,
Soccer.
right. Football, F1, NBA, tennis, like all of that makes. I mean, WWE, it feels like very American, but like, I know it's popular. That's probably more popular outside of the States than American football, especially college football. Like I said, like I think like college sports. I don't think the rest of the world realizes how popular they are in the U.S. And if they do have some kind of idea of how popular they are in the U.S., it kind of has them scratch their head a little bit. Like it almost seems like, oh, what is like, this club, or I don't know. I wouldn't even know what the equivalent would be, but I think they just see it as this like just strictly a lower level of competition, which in general it is in the professional leagues, right? But it's it's just it's a very unique to the US, or like I said, I don't know if Canada has a similar type of thing, but
it's a US culture thing. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving. We don't. Yep. we gotta rip through. Best Sims strategy. So we had Age of Mythology Retold, Frostpunk 2, Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, Manor Lords, and Unicorn Overlord. What was your pick to win this one before we say the winner?
Yeah, that was a great question. I picked Unicorn over. Yeah, I picked Unicorn Overlord.
I picked Manor Lords. We obviously were in the Lord mood. Frostpunk 2 was the winner here. Probably well-deserved. I kind of went with the outside pick at Manor Lords. If something was going to win this category, I think Unicorn Overlord and Frostpunk 2 are probably the most deserving.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Atlas just killed it this year, right? This is Vanillaware, but it's, an Atlas property. So it's just like they had Unicorn Overlord, Persona 3, and Metaphor, just come out with just wild the output, right? But if you're an Atlas fan this year, you could have played only their games this year and still gotten hundreds of hours in gaming. But
and lots of awards, or at least nominations.
And lots of awards, right? But yeah, no, the only one out of this I've played is Kunitsugami. Frostpunk 2, I was a little bit surprised just because it did have a little bit of like, just from Frostpunk 1, it kind of really changed what like the game was a little bit. We talked a little bit about this on previous episodes. I know Curtis has talked about, he's played both of the games, right? And so I was just like surprised because I know the community, the reception of this game was a little bit mixed, but I assume it was just kind of like, once the dust settled a little bit, it was like, okay, this just isn't just like more Frostpunk, right? It's a different type of game. It's an evolution of the, which is, that's what, we were talking about in the Discord yesterday, that Civ does too, right? And like Civ 7 looks a lot different and it just has a different tone and stuff, but the Civilization likes to really like, take like a 33%, design philosophy of like 33% needs to be innovation, because otherwise there shouldn't be a sequel. There should just be more like DLC or something like that. So, so yeah, it's cool to see. I mean, 11-bit does great work. Cool to see them get this one.
It's a lot of that's a tale as old as time too. I think it's just outrage from gamers online when the next game comes out and it's not exactly the same, and it's like, really, like, do you really want exactly the same? And the artist doesn't want to do that either in terms of a developer, right? Like they're looking to be, and then like you said, the dust settles and everybody's like, oh wow, this game's actually really good. You know what I mean? Like it makes sense that they made these changes. So more times than not. Best family game. Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime. I'm sorry, I started reading without letting you read. Super Mario Party Jamboree, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Plucky Squire. I'll let you comment, and then I'll take it after that.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, Astrobot 1, right? I don't know. Not surprising. You can see, if you're watching, you can see that on the screen. This is generally, like a lot of people I saw just saying like, oh, it's going to be Mario Party or Zelda. Probably, I think I saw a lot of people just saying it was going to be Zelda because this is the Nintendo award. So Nintendo only ever wins this one and blah, blah, blah. It's just the way to give, like, I feel like there is a thought of, that there's, Jeff's got to give Nintendo an award each year and he loves Sony and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I don't think any of these Nintendo games came even close to Astro this year. I mean, I beat Zelda, loved it, but like I really liked it. I don't even know that I say I loved it. Right? It was a good game. I enjoyed it. It was worth the 40 hours I played to beat it or whatever. But just from what I've seen of Astrobot, it just like it was a fine Zelda game, and Astrobot seems to be just something that really just stood out this year. Clearly as it got at least nominated for the game of the year, right?
Yeah, and you can just look at the scores of these games, and it's head and shoulders above. I mean, it's the second highest scoring game of the year. Right. Depending on how you look at it, it was the highest if you're not comparing to a DLC.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So, yeah,
I mean, this game took what Super Mario Odyssey was and put a PlayStation stamp on it and took it to the next level. I don't want to say perfected it because Super Mario Odyssey was also incredible, but it essentially is Super Mario Galaxy 3, for Nintendo not having one. It was PlayStation's version of that, and they nailed it.
Okay. So you say this plays a lot like a Galaxy game, Mario Galaxy game. I haven't heard, I maybe have seen that comparison, but that's I can't think of the
not in terms of like running around the planet, but just the outer space aspect and going to the different planets.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this was a lot shorter of a game, right, than at least Mario Odyssey, right? Mario Odyssey was 25 hours to beat or 20-ish hours to beat the main game, and then on top of that, like there was more than double that in terms of content, post-game content, right? Like the real game was the end game and the real depth to it. And this keeps getting updates, which is pretty cool. So It keeps adding it does keep adding length of play, right? But I think it was like pretty much like a 10-hour to beat the
it's
main
about
game,
it's about
right?
the same. It's about the same between Mario Odyssey and Astrobot. It's 11 for Astro versus Odyssey 12.5. But then when you get into extra and completionist, Odyssey just skyrockets with the potential content you can have to do other stuff. So
yeah, because I know I put like 65 hours into Mario Odyssey. Just doing I got every single moon, right? That was the closest I think I've ever come to 100%ing a game.
Yeah. All right. Best fighting game. I'll let you do this one. This is more your realm. You're the fighting guy. I hate playing fighting games against you. I like the idea, and then we play like 3 rounds, and I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Like every 5 years, maybe we do that, and I just get my ass kicked.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead and read off the nominees.
Yeah. So we've got Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, Marvel versus Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Multiversus, and Tekken 8. And Tekken 8 came home with it. Well deserved. I picked Sparking Zero on this just out of sheer popularity, right? I think Sparking Zero became at least the fastest selling fighting game of all time. Not like the best selling fighting game of all time or something like that, real quick. But in terms of commercial success, out of the water, which is wild, like, cause it was well reviewed, right? But it was Tekken 8 was a higher reviewed, better reviewed game in terms of like Metacritic score and whatnot. But Sparking Zero is great, and then it's just got that Dragon Ball property, which apparently carries a lot of weight, and and I think this is more of, it's not a traditional like 2D fighter, right? It's a
over the shoulder.
What's the series that
like
it's
Budokai Tenkaichi. Yeah, so Sparking is what it was called in Japan, and so they brought it back as Sparking Zero here.
Yeah. So and I think there was a lot of like desire to get back to that franchise or that series, right?
That style, yeah.
The Sparking series, yeah. And so this was kind of return to that, and Dragon Ball fans were
It
excited
sold
to get
over
that.
3 million copies in one day, which shattered the record. I can't find what the previous record was, but that's like unheard of for a fighting game, right? To do that,
Yep.
and then to continue to sell more after that. So it definitely showed people were thirsty for that type of game. It rated really highly, but Tekken scored really highly as well. It's probably the more technically sound and true classic fighter. So well deserved win to Tekken, I think. But I also picked Sparking Zero.
Yeah.
Cool. Best RPG: Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, is a remake, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor ReFantasio. With Metaphor bringing home the gold in Best RPG. What do you think about this category? Did it shake out how you thought it would?
So I haven't played any of these games or DLC. I have played Elden Ring, but not the Shadow over the Erdtree, which should be viewed in a vacuum somehow for this award, right? But it should be somehow separated from the base game itself. No, I unsurprising. I've been seeing the praise for Metaphor. It's really cool to see Atlas kind of go from the Persona, the high school, life sim type thing or whatever that you get from Atlas and take it into that fantasy setting. Super acclaimed. With people in the Discord playing this, including yourself, right? Or have already played it, put over 100 hours into the game. And I would say unsurprising is definitely a thing. And it's kind of cool to see, where this, the studio, their games and stuff have come over the last, since probably, I'd say Persona 5 was really that breakout game for it, right? There was a lot of love for Persona 4
in mainstream, right?
Right. It was before Persona 5, it had a lot of love within the niche, but I think Persona 5 kind of broke it out into the a little more popularity, at least within the industry.
And then same thing here by cutting over, I think, to the fantasy genre, which is much more approachable to a wider audience than the high school stuff.
Right. As you can see, every game, every other, 3 of the other 4 games in here are fantasy, right? In the fantasy, setting. So, makes sense.
Yeah, well-deserved win in my opinion. I haven't finished the game. I'm very close. I think I'm in like the final 5th of the game, if you will. So, and I've got close to 70 hours.
Yeah, a lot of game to play there, right? Did you play Erdtree at all?
No, I haven't played Erdtree. I haven't played Dragon's Dogma 2. I have played the first fourth or quarter of Rebirth, which is great so far, and I love the remake. And I haven't played Like a Dragon, so I've only played 2 of these games.
Oh, okay, yeah. I keep forgetting that you didn't beat Rebirth. You beat Remake, right?
Remake.
You beat the first.
I crunched through Remake, and then I jumped right into Rebirth. Yeah, and I needed to take a break.
Just too much. Yeah, too much all at once, right?
Yep. Yeah. All right, best action adventure. You want to read through these?
Yeah, so we've got Astrobot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. With Astrobot coming again and getting another one. To win this one, and again, well deserved. Like in my head, like action adventure, like I just think of not just as family friendly of a game as something like Astrobot, but so I'm pretty sure I picked this. No, yeah, I did pick Astrobot to win this, but I think I don't think a game should get its flowers just or whatever, just like if another game is winning any other categories or whatever, but Prince of Persia to me would have been cool to see if won this one, just because I feel like it's like Ubisoft finally puts out an excellent game, right? That is something special. It feels like it has some heart and passion behind it, as opposed to just being pumped into the machine, right? Like the Assassin's Creed machine or the Far Cry machine, which not to they just kind of start to feel very samey or bloated, right? Like Odyssey, Valhalla did, but and obviously Ubisoft is going through a lot of stuff, and it's just like this Prince of Persia didn't have the commercial success, but critically it was really, really well received.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's showing up here in the Game Awards. It gets some kind of nomination, and would have been really cool to see that. Like, hey, Ubisoft, this is the type of game you should be putting like heart and passion behind your games, as opposed to just doing the same thing over and over and over again and barely, messing with things and giving us 150 hours of bloat like Valhalla. And so it would have been cool to just like send a message to Ubisoft that like this is what you should do, and also like make it a little more, give it a little bit of visibility to hopefully cause it to sell a little bit more type of deal.
Well, I think nominating it does that too, but not to as much extent as winning the award,
sure.
right? But
yeah,
100%. Man. Astrobot, no question in my mind here for this. It's described as combining combat, traversal, and puzzle solving. It does all of that. Does obviously traversal. There's a lot of different combat aspects. There's all sorts of power-ups you get. Sometimes you're shooting a Nerf gun with balls. Other times you're punching things, you're spinning. You have laser boots, you're jumping over things and lasering them. There's several levels in here. A lot of puzzle solving too, not complicated, but there's several levels in here where you have to rescue some of the stars of other PlayStation games, and those levels play out like that game. So there's like a God of War. You got to rescue the people from God of War, and you get to literally play God of War within Astrobot, and it's just over the top fun combining that combat in there with the traversal. So definitely well deserved.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, best action game: Black Myth: Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. This is best in the action genre, focused primarily on combat. Winner was Black Myth: Wukong. Did you see this one coming? Is this what you picked?
Best action game. What did I pick? I picked Black Myth. Yeah. And so I guess I saw it coming. Yeah, unsurprising. I mean, it was a pretty big success, but this is pretty stacked category. I mean, you've got Call of Duty, Helldivers 2, which could have easily gotten it. Stellar Blade, I think it was pretty well received, but not quite. I don't think. Yeah, I think it was just maybe just a touch below a lot of these in here, and then Warhammer 40K was I feel like Warhammer 40K was like just really cool, but like it's just kind of it's almost a niche type of game. First off, it's got the Warhammer IP, which is
the word of the day for you in here.
Apparently, maybe I should stop using it before it stopped. Yeah, everything started tasting the same or whatever, it loses its flavor. But it seems like it's just like it's just different than the rest of these games. I don't know. So it's not surprising to me that seems like it's a really good one. It seems like actually out of these, one of the ones that would be more interesting to me, because it just kind of really goes back to like that 360 era style of game. And from what I understand, from what you guys and you and Curtis have talked about, right? You guys played through that one, and Black Myth with not super surprising.
It's all combat all the time, man.
I'm sure the game director was not surprised that it won.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later when we get to Game of the Year, I think. So anyway, yeah, Black Myth: Wukong, that all action all the time, right? It's literally a giant. It's not like necessarily a boss hunter, because there's other things going on there. You get rewarded for exploration, and there's tons of secrets and stuff. But it's all combat. I mean, there's like the claim to fame is like 200 something bosses that you fight, right? Plus smaller enemies or something. So there's tons of combat to be had there. So well deserved. It was fantastic. Best VR AR. Neither of us have a VR platform, but we're both interested based on these. You want to read these off, and we'll rip through them real quick?
Yeah. So we got the Arizona Sunshine remake, Asgard's Wrath 2, Batman Arkham Shadow, Metal Hellslinger VR, and Metro Awakening. And Batman came home with it, which is not surprising based on what I've heard through about these. It sounds like Batman is just excellent game. It came with I think it came with like some bundle with one of the MetaQuests, if not both MetaQuest 3 and 3S or whatever, right? Yeah, I mean, but this seems like a pretty. I've heard of all of these games, and like I said, neither of us have VR, um, and I feel like I've heard good things about all these, and it just seems like this seems like a in a year that the in a I don't want to say, I do I guess I'll say a down year, right? Like especially um a year that's sandwiched between two potentially all-time years, right? 2023 was an all-time year for video games. 2025 is
Yeah.
shaping up to be and
It's a good year, right? It's a
yeah,
B
yeah,
plus year.
yeah, it's not to take away from the games that came out this year, but you're not getting a Baldur's Gate 3, a 3D Zelda, GTA 6, Monster Hunter, Wild. You're not, these games that are coming out in the years surrounding this, right? Like we're looking at Fable. I mean, Xbox looks like it has a stack year next year with like Fable and Doom, and then so there's just which is fine, but this does seem like potentially an all-time year for VR. To me, looking at this
Oh
lineup,
yeah,
and
I mean this is a stacked lineup in terms of VR games. You're totally right.
yeah, and it like I said, it certainly makes me a little more interested in VR, and I'm just kind of like, gosh, I wish I had this, and um, it's cool to see that that VR is still getting is getting this attention, right? Is getting great games, and big IPs, which I think is a good thing to see something like Metro, to see Batman uh, get VR adaptations. Because for me, that's something that's like, oh, maybe I should, especially Batman Arkham, right? To have that Arkham name in it, right? With how loved the Arkham trilogy was. And like those are like, oh, like games that I like on traditional consoles or PC or whatever. I would love to see that in a 3D, and then you have the ones that stand alone, right? And then Metal Hellsinger is also, as a traditional console or whatever. But like Asgard's Wrath, seems to be um, like just an excellent VR experience, and yeah, just stacked here, and it's just really cool to see that it's while VR doesn't seem to be blowing up in a way that like it was thought that might several years ago. It just kind of seems to be its own. I need another word that doesn't that I haven't ever used this episode, but
its own market. Yeah, no, it's got its own following, its own market, and it's a
yeah,
strong showing here for them. So
yeah, for sure.
best mobile game.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and read this one. Sorry, since I interrupted you. So
Yeah.
we've got AFK Journey, Balatro, the Pokemon trading card game Pocket, Wuthering Waves, and Zenless Zone Zero. I would say another pretty good strong category, and Balatro comes away with it, right? What are your thoughts on this, Mark?
I've only played two of these. I know some of our fans play AFK Journey and Zenless Zone Zero. I haven't heard of Wuthering Waves, but I played Balatro and Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. Balatro is just an incredible game with a nice, fun loop, and it's playable on phones now. So, strong showing for Balatro, and I think pretty well deserved. There's no gotcha. There's no, I mean, you buy the game or it's included in Apple Arcade for free as part of that subscription. And you just play the game, and there's a lot of content there to play.
Yeah. So have you played Balatro on mobile?
I have just a couple rounds, but my main two are on the Steam Deck and the Switch, which I have dozens and dozens and dozens of hours already.
Yeah, I've played quite a bit on the Switch, but yeah, you actually made a good point there that I hadn't really thought about too much on this. Is the you buy it and it's not gotcha, right? You pay the $10 or play it on the Apple Arcade, and you just have the game, right? Those are not usually super successful. I mean, I don't want to say not usually, but like they don't usually get the attention.
They're not as
right,
popular and don't get that
as the free to play
right?
games on mobile, right? Mobile is just loaded, like the market is just loaded with like saturated with the free to play gotcha, that type of game, which is I believe all four of the other nominees are, and so I do wonder how successful this game will be in regards of commercial success, right? As a $10 game, and I'd be curious to see that. And it does seem like one that would that is a good fit for that. And I'm glad it's just like it just takes the same game, right? It didn't try to change and be something different on mobile, and because it seems like an excellent game, to translate to mobile. So it's pretty cool, but pretty good category this year too.
Yeah. And best debut indie game: Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire. And Balatro with the back-to-back dubs, they win this category as well. I shouldn't say they. It's a one-man show, which is very impressive for both this and Animal Well. What are your thoughts on this one with best debut indie game, which is by a new independent studio?
Yeah, I mean, unsurprising to see a Game of the Year nominee win this, right? And Animal Well, I do probably feel like gave it a little bit of a competition, but it's hard to argue. Like I said, a game that's in the Game of the Year nominations, right? Not win this, especially as the debut indie, but pretty solid category. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Manor Lords is early access. You've maybe one or two liner thoughts on that, like early access game being in here?
Yeah, that's tough for me to think, like to decide, right? Like, because you think of something like, say, like Hades 2 is early access, and it's
Yeah.
while there's a lot of great content, there's more content than the first Hades in this early access. It's far from done, right? There's still tons of content to come. So my question is, it's like, do you put a game out on early access that still has a ton of content to come? Like, is that something that should get nominated? I mean, we don't see Hades 2 in this Game Awards at all. So maybe, like, what separates that? Which I think a lot of people
I was
love
gonna
it, right?
say, why is Hades 2 not in here now that you said
But
that?
Manor Lords is, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Not in
why? And
debut indie game, but in particular in any nominations.
right in the Game Awards at all, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
like, because you would think that you would see it because it's only gotten praise, like tons of praise, right? And is like, so why? Part of me wonders if, like,
Mm.
you're the people that are voting on this and stuff like that, and the thoughts of like, oh, what are some debut indie games that came out? Manor Lords, that was well received. All, like, have the people that are picking these categories, have they played, maybe not played Manor Lords, and they're just not even aware of whether or not it is early access, or it's like, all right, I know Hades 2 is early access, so I'm going to hold that off for the full release, even though early access games can be, and it's like, because can a game
Yeah.
can an early access game be nominated multiple times, right? Can it be nominated as early access and then nominated again when 1.0 comes out? And
I would say no, but I wouldn't put it past
right, it should
Keeley
be
to
able
allow
to,
it
right?
to
I don't
happen.
think the same game should be be able to be nominated multiple times, right? Unless it's like an ongoing game or something like that. But like, just a straight up, like, best game award, right? Of any given category. You should be able to get one nomination, 1 year that you get nominated.
Yeah,
And
then one.
that's it, right? Move on.
Yeah, I'm surprised Hades 2 also isn't in here because on early access release, it had more content, like more than double content of Hades 1 at full release. So it's like, yes, it's not complete, but it's like, it's a big game. There's a lot of meat there. Like, they could just release it and be like, yeah, that's the game. And that would be acceptable for most people. So I'm just surprised it didn't get nominated.
Yeah. That my only thought on that is, like I said, is just that the only reason I can justify that is that the industry that is making these nominations is just more aware of Hades 2, knowing that it's got a lot more to come, that it is not the 1.0, right? And that they are just saving it for the 1.0 because they know that
it's gonna crush, right?
the full release.
In a non-stacked tier, Hades 2 could be up for Game of the Year. Like, if it comes out fully next year like it's supposed to, I don't think it'll be in the top 6 because it's just such a crazy year coming up. But in a normal year, it would be probably, right?
Yeah, and it might, if that 6 nomination still is like that. You often get that indie in that 6 nomination, so it's like, or that smaller game, right? So, like, I could see it if just for that alone, right? Just to get that. But yeah, otherwise, like, if it, it's like you said, a stacked year next year.
Yep. Best independent game. So not debut, but just best indie. Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei, and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50, with Balatro taking home the gold. Any quick thoughts on best indie game here?
Yeah. I to me, I have a hard. So I do have thoughts right about like if we read this in reverse order, we read best independent game before best debut independent game. And we saw that Balatro won the best independent game, and then it shows up again in best debut indie game. Is there any justification for Balatro not winning best debut indie game when it's only like best debut indie game is a category that in of itself is just included within best independent game, right? There's nothing that separates best debut indie game from best independent game other than the fact that it's like it's just a developer's first game.
Yeah.
So it's like if a developer's first game is good enough to win the best independent game, I mean, how can you? It's interesting thought, and maybe it's just like I think it's just a good way to give the debut developers attention, right?
Yeah, and
so,
it just happened to be
you know,
that he crushed it on his first time out. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
got best
right.
indie
Same
game.
with Animal Well, right? Like that it's in it's in
Yeah.
the categories, right? Like it's just very clear. Those two stood out as first time games, right? There's debut games for these developers, and so it's pretty cool. So it's like it's good that the debut exists. Well, for years that maybe none of them get to make the best independent category, none of the nominees, especially the winner, right? But of an independent game. But it's I think it's good to just highlight right debut developers and stuff. Just give them a little bit of attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Best community support. You want to run through these?
Yeah, we got Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. So I'm pretty sure I read my Roman numerals right.
But you're good.
And Baldur's Gate 3 gets it with again continued support here. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of these are dignified, right? Like I think all five of these games have gotten pretty good support. Helldivers 2 is interesting because it did come out this year, so it's like this is almost like one you expect to see, but it came out at the beginning of the year. But you kind of expect to see a game that's already been out, that is still getting support years after, or at least a year after release, right? Fortnite, I honestly think Fortnite could probably just win this, or maybe I'm kind of confusing this with ongoing game a little bit too.
No, but if you read it, I think you're right, because if you read this, it's like community support, transparency, responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates and patches. I mean, Fortnite's all over that, right? And it's the LeBron syndrome you mentioned earlier. Like they're just so good at it, and they've done it for so long. Like they just don't get picked. They're nominated, but they don't get picked, right? And Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely deserving here. Like they come out with massive patch notes. They tell you exactly like we can't do X because of Y, or here's the problem we're facing and we're trying to solve it. Like ultra transparent, not leaving you in the dark and getting what's Nintendo's patch log is always like stability updates for stability. You know what I mean? Like they tell you exactly what's going on. So they're definitely good and well earned.
Yeah. And I think it's just like it's a standout within its genre, where it's like Fortnite is in the genre of community support and ongoing, by itself, right? Like it's like that is what Fortnite is an ongoing community supported game, right? Like so, where it's like Baldur's Gate has that while still being, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just feels like that is everything that Fortnite is. So it's like,
and to be clear, the community support, because this got me at first, just for our listeners, it's not supported by the community support. It's literally supporting your community for the game. Right. So it's the other direction. Best ongoing. And now that I've read the description for this one, the winner makes more sense. But do you want to read through these?
Yeah. So we've got Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Helldivers 2. So and I'll just read the description here real quick because you pointed that out. But it's awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time, and the winner is Helldivers 2. So you want to explain why you think this makes a lot more sense?
Yeah, because I'm looking at like I picked Destiny 2 in our pick'em for this, and that was because they released this awesome expansion, right? Like, oh, they're ongoing. I took it at face value, like it's an ongoing game. They provided an update or a DLC. But Helldivers 2, when you look at evolves the player experience over time, literally like day by day, week by week, there was changes in the game due to the director feature. So
Mhm.
like you're fighting bugs on one side of the galaxy, and then the story evolves and they drop an update. They were literally like, oh, if you win this mission, you save these sectors. But if you do this mission instead and let that sector fall, you get a cool new weapon and it unlocks for everybody. And that was like literally week after week after week. So evolving the player experience was like so true and at such a high level for this game. Now it makes a lot more sense that this game won.
Sure. Yeah. When I think of like, especially, early on this, the first several months after release of this game, like I have this like visual in my head of like, sometimes you see in movies or something where there's like this big war going on or something like that. And then like the camera starts to zoom out or something. And like, as this big epic battle is happening and stuff, it's like slowly zooms out to like, so like this massive, like, this actual figure that's like playing with just playing with like war pieces or little pieces or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
moving
yeah.
them around the map and like bringing in new things, almost like the Lego movie, right? When Will
Mhm.
Ferrell's character is the creator of that world, and his son or daughter, I can't remember what his child
Yeah,
is like the one that's manipulating the characters, and it's like this is the imagination that the kid is having that's
yeah.
happening in
You
this
picture
throughout
Helldivers.
the movie, right? The kid's imagination is just like is playing with these Legos, but that's what creates the movie. And that's what I picture with like the game director in Helldivers 2 doing for that
Mhm.
first several months, right? Just watching the world play this game and just moving the pieces around as they kind of do their thing, and just like, oh, so they've done this, I'm gonna put this piece here. And it's very much like
Mhm.
that, plus like, just as a game master, almost like D&D, but it's not role playing game, right? But it's but like D&D if it was a an action game.
Yeah, yeah, that's 100% accurate. What talk about the best job ever, huh?
Yeah, right. That's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah. Games for impact. So thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. Closer the distance. Indica. Neva. Life is Strange Double Exposure. Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2. Tales of Kenzera. Zao. And the winner was Neva, from the team that brought you Gris. Any quick thoughts on this category? I wasn't heavily invested in any of these games this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, I dipped into Hellblade and dropped out of it. After enjoying the first one, it was just kind of like I just didn't feel like doing kind of the same thing again. It was a beautiful game, but I just felt like I'd seen what it had to offer.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it just felt, like maybe it was just the mood that I was in when it came out. But um, yeah, I don't think either of us were a fan of Nevis Studios. Was it Nomada Studios'
Yeah.
first game, Greece? And this looked kind of just more of the same. Again, more of the same there. So I don't think either of those. I feel like we will never play this, right? So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. But
It's a very important
I haven't heard
category,
of.
and I wish I would have played more of these, but I just haven't. I just haven't had the time to
Yeah,
be
yep.
honest. I played Hellblade 2 and beat it.
I'm a little.
Uh, that's it.
Yeah, Tales of Kenzara is one I'm kind of curious about. It's a Metroidvania. The the lead like director, I think there was a team with Surgent Studios that did this, but there was a guy that like the designer for this game, or the lead designer, really has a lot of passion behind what they're doing and stuff. And
Yeah, I
there's a lot
remember that.
in so that's the game I actually picked for this category. I've heard a lot of interviews, and the guy is going out and just like reaching all these outlets, trying to like, just share his story and what it means to him, and it's very closely tied to what's happening in the story, right? And just
Mhm.
really cool. So that's why I picked that one. I feel like I've heard of Closer the Distance, but I have not, or Closer the Distance, but I've not played it. I've not heard of Indica, or Indica or whatever that one's called, but which is that's published by 11-bit. That's interesting. I'm surprised I haven't heard of that one. Hey,
Hey, innovation in accessibility. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age, The Veilguard, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, and Star Wars Outlaws. The winner that I picked correctly, I guess, is Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. How about you?
Yeah, I picked Call of Duty. I wasn't so I wasn't really aware of like all the accessibility options in Prince of Persia. I was singing this game's praises earlier, right? I'm glad I totally forgot that this won an award, so it's pretty cool to at least see it win something and get recognition. So, but yeah, we have actually I guess there's a couple of Ubisoft games on here, right?
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I it's hard for me like unless I'm using accessibility features, right? Like for some reason, I generally just don't I don't have much of an awareness for what the accessibility
Yeah.
features
Yeah.
are in games, unless there's some super notable ones, right? That get like just get a lot of attention that or something something blows up on social media or something that's like, oh, I was able to like play this game because of these options, right? And like
Right.
there's some touching story tied to it, and like I said, I didn't really see that this year, but that's
Yeah.
cool that this quick category exists, and you know games are accessible to people.
Yeah, totally. The more people that can play games, the better. I actually looked these up just before I made my pick, and I talked about this in our live stream in the Discord when we were watching the Game Awards with some of our fans in there. And the one that stuck out to me here was Prince of Persia because it's a Metroidvania game, right? You unlock new abilities often, and then you have to backtrack and go to, oh, this door is now accessible or this area is now accessible because I have XYZ ability. And there's a certain like a neurodivergent category of people that they can't remember where they saw things or how to get to them. And so the game has a mode where you can it doesn't tell you exactly how to play the game or like cheat for you or whatever you want to call it, but it'll highlight like, oh, this ability can be used here at this green dot on the map or at this red dot as the other ability. And it sort of allowed these people that experience this to enjoy a Metroidvania, which they might have never been able to enjoy before, which we know some of the greatest games of all time are Metroidvanias. And so I just thought that was really cool, which is why ultimately I picked this one.
Yeah, that's cool.
Best performance: Brianna White, Hannah Tell, Humberly Gonzalez, Luke Roberts, and Melina Jurgens. Melina Jurgens from Hellblade 2 won this one. What do you think about this category and the winner?
Yeah, I picked Melina. I think this is kind of something that like it's almost unfair like in terms of like because Melina invests so much of herself into the like her performance is so crucial to Hellblade
Crazy
as a
good
game,
too.
right?
Yeah,
and she nails it, right? It's like because of all the mocap and everything that she has, right? It's not just a voice actor performance, right? Like she is Senua, like, and in a way that it's like you don't get in a ton of games, right? And I would say even the games you do get, like something like Johnny Silverhand, it's Keanu Reeves, right? Like in Cyberpunk, but she is like, I mean, she is everything that makes Hellblade as a franchise, in my opinion, right? So
yeah, I agree.
And Cyberpunk is really cool with Johnny Silverhand, but it's like the franchise can stand on its own without Johnny Silverhand, right? Where it's like like I mean, it is called
it's an art house. Yeah, it's an art house game, right? And she is the crux of the art in that. So
yeah, I mean, it's
no
almost
chance
like
for anybody else here, I think.
She's the lead actor.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So not to take away from any of those, but it's just like, yeah, there's no way anybody was taking that.
Right. Speaking of amazing performances that are tied to the last one, do you want to read off best audio design?
Sure. So we've got Astrobot, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Senua Saga, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. And the winner, Senua Saga Hellblade 2. So in addition to Melina's performance, right? The audio design is is I would say the other focal point of what this this franchise this IP is, right? and which again plays into Senua's performance as well. But and the way she handles the audio design that is you have voices coming into your head, and you really need to play. Like, this is a game that's like, if you're playing with, like, a lot of games are better with a headset or whatever, surround sound headset, some kind of surround sound. It's like you're missing out on a part of the experience without playing
you
with some
have to play
form
this with a headset on and surround sound. Yeah,
at least surround sound, right? But and because like, it's, you've got those voices, and it's like you can feel those voices coming from behind you, coming from in front of you, and right, and it's just like the experience is so tied to that. So I don't know that it's it's sets itself apart as much as Melina as the performance does, but I would say it's not far off of that. And so it's like, again, it's like it just stands out above the category. I mean, Final Fantasy audio design is like, this is if the soundtrack or something plays into that, but there's a soundtrack award, right, or best soundtrack, right? But I think
I've never heard better audio
very,
than playing through this game.
Yeah, as I was saying, very, very clear. I think this is a clear winner here. Clear winner.
Oh boy, that's gonna be a clip.
We can scratch that out, right?
That's hilarious. On these topic of audio, we'll jump over to best score and music. Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor, ReFantazio, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade. This is a tight category, I think, with a few of these, at least two of them. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was the winner. I thought Metaphor could have took this one, and maybe even Astrobot.
Yeah, that's cool. I love listening to video game soundtracks, right? Like, so I'm still using that Nintendo Music app, right? They put out one new soundtrack a week, and I turn it on.
Sure, they're paying you.
Oh, dude, they should be paying me. I'm telling you, like,
you were like, they give out one new one a week.
Right. If you put a couple more zeros at the end of our subscriber count, maybe maybe they would be paying me. But
right.
But no. So I even on like Spotify, I've been listening to Death's Door. David Fenn is the composer for Death's Door, and then so his radio, which has like Mark Sparling from I want to say he does Short Hike, and Concerned Ape is in there, right? Like in this, right? So I love like listening to composed indie music. I love listening to retro game music. I love listening to just orchestral, like Final Fantasy, the iconic, right? And I think Final Fantasy winning this, right? Final Fantasy is iconic in the industry. When you think of two franchises that are known for their soundtracks, their scores and music, I would say Final Fantasy is probably the number one, and then Zelda would be number two. And then there's the other ones that have excellent soundtracks, but like those are like, I would say, the most widely like thought of franchises pretty easily. But like you said, like Metaphor, I mean, Atlas always does pretty great with their soundtracks, and these are all soundtracks. I'm like, I gotta go, put these into my audio or my Spotify search and listen to them. I'm sure
you should definitely pull in the Metaphor ones. It's a little addicting. It kind of gets stuck in your head. A lot of like different chorus and chanting and stuff from like okay. what do you call that? Like, not an acapella group, but like Gregorian chanting almost and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Like Skyrim, right? Like the or is it more like like the
somewhere between Halo and Skyrim.
Okay.
It's upbeat. It's a little more upbeat, and you definitely like feel the tension for certain areas. I mean,
oh yeah, I love that. Yeah. I mean, talk about two other soundtracks that are just songs that are always on my favorites and stuff that I play. The Halo theme is another iconic.
I mean,
yeah,
that thing will get you hype, right?
Oh, for sure.
All right, you want to go through best art direction?
So we got Astrobot, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, again a DLC, Metaphor, ReFantazio, and
we're not biased at all.
No, not at all. And the winner is Metaphor, ReFantazio. I think that I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. I think the art direction of Metaphor, of really the Atlas games as a whole, are something that really set them apart from as a studio, or as I want to say, keep saying franchise, but really it's not a Persona game, but it still takes that same style. But Atlas really sets itself apart with the style, the art direction that they have in their games, and I think it's. I think this is a good pick. I mean, Neva's got pretty distinct art, right? And that studio does as well. I think Team Asobi, just has that family friendly, which is distinct from, say, a lot of Sony IP, but it almost has that Nintendo charm, that Nintendo look to it. And then, but yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I picked Metaphor to win this.
Yeah,
the artistic design and the animation in the game is incredible, and it performs well. Astrobot, I really thought could have won this easily over Metaphor, though, because this is also technical achievement, so we can't forget that. I know it's like you called out kind of the Nintendo kind of family style art, but in terms of technical achievement, I mean, this thing's a rock solid 4K 60 HDR with incredible physics engine in it, which was called out in many of the review scores, was the physics and how many items are on screen at once, and there's no frame stutter or anything.
That's that's interesting. I didn't even really consider that, and it's like you're saying some of that stuff. Like I do remember reading Atlas talking about just designing their menus and stuff, and how much time and effort goes into doing that type of stuff. So I was thinking that is a technical achievement, but like you said, the actual performance of the game itself, with what it with the presentation that it provides because of the performance, right? When it comes down to actual frame rate resolution, as well as the animation and things like that. That's interesting.
I'm actually curious. I don't think Breath of the Wild won this, but that's a game that I would consider, even though it didn't rock solid performance, for a game of that caliber to come out on that type of hardware, I would consider that art direction also to be a technical achievement as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think I do, if I remember correctly, it's nominated. We'll have to go look that up or something, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Best narrative. I'll let you read these off and then give your quick thoughts, and I'll give mine because I have a little bit to say about the winner.
Okay, so we've got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. And the winner is Metaphor ReFantazio. My quick thought is this definitely lends itself to JRPGs.
Yeah, good point. Anything else for you on this one or no?
Let's see. Best narrative. I picked Metaphor. So
okay.
I think this makes sense. Again, something Atlas does really well is I think they do really good with their narrative. To me, Final Fantasy VII is a reused narrative. Silent Hill 2 is a reused narrative. So it's kind of weird to me. I don't, it's a great narrative. So I guess it kind of makes sense, but it's that's there. And while they may put a little bit new, it's kind of here we took something that was made, 20 years ago or 25 years ago or whatever, a narrative that was already written. Right. And then we maybe modified it a little bit. And it's just so it would have been hard for me to see one of those win, just for that reason in this category specifically. Right.
Yeah. I'll push back a little bit on the Final Fantasy VII.
I've already talked about whether they should do.
I got to push back on your Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
I think that's a misunderstanding of, I think in general, not just you, there's a misunderstanding of remake and rebirth in that they think it's just a remastered game, and it's hard to describe without spoiling anything, but it's almost adjacent to the original games. Yes, it's set in the same characters in world, but the events are very different, so much so that there was a lot of controversy from Final Fantasy VII fans that were upset with the approach that they took to this game, and the director defended it, saying they didn't want to just do the same thing, copy and paste. So that I could see why this might win, but I also get why people see this and they're like, oh, it's just Final Fantasy VII from before. Not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I get your notion, they started with something, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. So it's they kind of just you almost get a leg up if you took an all-time great narrative and just built upon it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a fair criticism. but it's definitely
but,
not like 1-to-1, and that's it intentionally
sure.
so, right?
I will say that just like any of the other categories, when I make my arguments against remakes and remasters being that whether they should be included in any of these awards, right? There's
Mhm.
always like a potential asterisk with with what Final Fantasy VII, the remake trilogy, I'll call it, is doing, right?
Mhm.
Is that it's not. Sorry, I've got a baby crying in the background,
Very good.
but anyway, but Final Fantasy, it almost, if it feels like it takes, which I haven't played it, right, as you mentioned, but like it feels like it mostly just takes from the source material and really just creates a brand new experience,
Mhm.
where it's you often don't get such an overhaul, even with a remake, I would say, right? Like that we're getting with Final Fantasy VII. So
Right.
um, if there was a remake that you could convince me of, or a remake, I guess again, trilogy, that this is probably the
It would
one
be
that
the
you
one.
could.
It gets the
Yeah, yeah.
asterisk, yeah. That's fair. Alright, I gotta give my 2-minute, spiel and gush about, metaphor and narrative. So I'm almost finished
Okay.
with this game, and, it definitely goes, like, on an incline, right? Like, it just gets better and better and better, and you can kinda see, like, some of the concepts and where it's coming in terms of the storytelling, but there's several plot twists in this, and maybe I'm just a big dumb idiot and I didn't see them coming, but just in today and yesterday when I was playing, kinda in the latter third of the game, there was several of these plot twists. I'm just like, whoa, that was kind of out of nowhere, and it just enhanced the story even more and got me like more. It's hooks more into me. Like, okay, now I got to find out like who actually did XYZ. If it wasn't this guy that I thought it was, and what does that mean now? And then there was just like multiple twists, and then just the storytelling and the narrative in general. I think are really apt and comparable to a lot of modern society in terms of politics, religion, respecting people's religion, but
Mm.
also recognizing that people can abuse religion. You know, people abusing power, people abusing others, and standing upon others' shoulders with no concern to how that class turns out. Like, there's so many on the nose things in this game that are elegantly told and reveal a lot from multiple perspectives and really make you think, which you it's not something you would just sit down and think about, right? But as you're playing the game, you're like, oh, like I kind of didn't think about that, and or you'll recognize something that you do see from real life. So for a video game to masterfully encapsulate all that, definitely well deserved of winning the best narrative award. It was masterfully done.
I say it sounds like like the way you're explaining it, it's like it really probably does set itself apart from the rest of these. Yeah, I mean, I haven't played any of these other ones other than, like I said, just the very little bit of Senua Saga, but uh, that just like it's the narrative is what really makes the impact of this game, right?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. I will say though, you did say that when you were playing earlier, and based on what you were saying in the Discord, I'm going to put air quotes around the word "playing." Um, right. So, which is probably what allows that narrative to take such, just like sit at the forefront, right? Is that I think you said you were playing 2 hours and there was about 10 minutes of gameplay in that 2 hours. So
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
you're almost watching an anime, right?
yeah,
Which are also just known for their narratives, right? The just the
yeah.
narrative impact that those make.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, definitely another plug for the Discord. Pop in. We talk about what we're playing and listen to what you're playing and what your thoughts are. But yeah, I said we played for 2 hours, and I knew I was coming up to like a big moment, right? So I expected like some cutscene, but there was a lot of dialogue, and you can press like a certain button to just let it autoplay through. So you don't have to keep pressing any A to go to the next person. So we let it do that. My wife and I were watching. We were folding laundry, and we did over 4 or 5 loads of laundry as we watched this play out. And there was one
Yeah.
boss fight in the middle of this 2 hours that was like a 10-minute thing, and that was it. And there was more dialogue and also the anime cutscenes, which they're really well done in the show. And there's rumors, I think, that you shared that they might do an anime of this
Yeah.
property, which would be cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool. So I will ask, like, in that 2 hours of like mostly watching, are there at least opportunities to like, all right, I gotta put this down. I gotta go do some other things. Okay. I would say like I hate when you get locked into some cinematics and cutscenes and it's like they're great and I don't want to skip them, but it's like I'm locked in for 45 minutes and I can't go do anything. Like I can't pause the game. You know, it's like that was like one that I was like, oh man, that could be a hang up for me just because of that, because it's like I often, again, young kids and stuff, you often have to step away. So but
you
well, we'll move on.
You can't really truly pause it, which kind of sucks in those dialogue moments, but you can hit the stop auto button, which is like you like it won't autoplay, it'll wait for your input, and then I just put it on quick resume on the Xbox. So it's yes and no. I'm kind of like cheesing it with the Xbox features.
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna say if I was playing it with like say even on the Switch, like you can just put the console to sleep, right? And put the home button in at all.
Best game direction. So this is outstanding creative vision and innovation in direction and design. So Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor Refantasio. Astrobot is the winner here. Do you think this deserved to win? This looks like literally the Game of the Year runner-up award, kind of.
Yeah,
like
I
category,
feel like
right? The noms.
Right. I feel like it often does take that. And also, yeah, like you said, the nominations are the same as the Game of the Year. So it's like, do you want to give a runner-up award? If so, like, I don't know. Should there be stipulations around this, but yeah, because game direction. I mean, what's at the core? What is a game outside of its game direction? But that'd be an interesting conversation that we probably don't want to dive too deep into it today. But yeah, I guess I'm not surprised, right? I mean, creative vision and as far as innovation and game direction and design, it's innovative outside of the 3D Mario IP, right? Like, I mean, it's extreme.
Yeah.
I would say it's still innovative, right? But I would almost argue that, like, in terms of innovation, Balatro is something very unique, right? I don't think I've seen Balatro, anything like Balatro exist. We've seen something like Astrobot exist, but outside of Nintendo, it's hard to say that. I mean, you've got like other things like Playtonic and Rare and stuff like that, but nothing like the way that Astrobot handles it. Hopefully ATB doesn't come at me for putting down Playtonic compared to Team Asobi here, but Elden Ring, as far as again, creative vision and innovation and game direction, it's like, well, it's a DLC. I can't really see. How is that innovation if it's just a DLC? It's literally just expanding it, something that already exists. Final Fantasy, something exists. Metaphor is
it's a JRPG, right? Like, yeah, it's won those other awards, but it's not
right
necessarily innovative.
So I would say that to me, this would fall between Astrobot and Balatro. I don't know enough about Black Myth Wukong to say whether or not, but it seems like but and then Metaphor, again, it's not just a JRPG, but it is an Atlas JRPG that clearly exists, right? Like it's just the new theme, which is cool, which is a different creative vision and everything like that. But yeah, I think Astrobot and like I said, it'd be between Astrobot and Balatro if I was picking, probably, which maybe we'll find out next week or next episode. But I
would agree with you. I think
about this thing, though.
Between Astrobot and Balatro, the thing I'll say about Astrobot is, again, like, think about innovation in design. So taking that Mario Odyssey type formula, 3D platformer, and saying like, oh, we have these other properties. Let's embed these other games in a platformer. What? Take God of War. God of War is the furthest thing from a platformer, right? Over the shoulder, gritty RPG. And they took that game and embedded it and made it a platformer. And so I think that might be where this award is coming from, and that's very unique and different. And you embed Uncharted, you embed Horizon, these other games in there. That's pretty cool and unique. So I could see why this won, but Balatro does make a lot of sense too. Like you said, we literally never seen really much like that before.
Right. I mean, we've seen deck builders, but it's funny because it's like it's a deck building card game that just really leaned into what it is, right? Like there's plenty of deck builder card games out there, right? You are probably more aware than most as a huge fan of that genre, right, or that subgenre. But yeah, just the way that it just it really took just a simple game of poker and just totally like flipped it over on its head, right? It was really really cool innovation, and whether or not it was fun, I think, is its own argument, right? We had that discussion in the first time we attempt to record this episode, but that we which it's funny because so I was on the Discord with Funkstar last night, right? We were just on voice, and he mentioned something about he's like, we were talking about like his the things, his qualms with Balatro as a game, and he's like, that's just not fun to me. And I was like, I don't disagree. And I was like, Mark and I just had this argument, while recording the episode about whether or not Balatro is actually fun. I was like, I think it has an addictive gameplay loop, but I don't know if I would call it fun. But I thought it was funny because I was like, I was literally just talking about this with Mark earlier. But real quick, before we get to the game of the year, I did look up. I was curious about the best art direction. If Breath of the Wild was there, so it was nominated, but Cuphead won the award for that. And I think that
you could see
that's
why.
clear. Yeah. Cuphead is just again that is art direction is what that game is, right? And insanely hard platform.
All hand drawn animations.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Tough
so
luck.
You want to read off the game of the year nominations here and the winner?
Sure. Here's Deja Vu, just about the same as the last category here. Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth, Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor, Refantasio, and the winner is Astrobot. Did you think this was going to win?
Nope. But I'm glad it did. I picked Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. I just thought as my prediction, right? Not the game that I thought should win necessarily, but the game that I just expected the media to pick, right? Like
you let your fear consume
because of like all the rules. Yeah, I did apparently, so I could have had a much higher, I was 20 for 29 in my picks, and I probably could have, if I wouldn't have let the Shadow of the Erdtree discourse consume me, like you said, I might have done a little bit better because I picked it a couple times in here thinking that it's like, of course it's going to get it. But Shadow of the Erdtree went empty for the night, which I think is appropriate. If there was a DLC category, I think that would have been great, right? That's right where it belongs, and it should have easily won a DLC category, best DLC, or if there's some definition of an ongoing game category that made sense, right? Like Phantom Liberty, Cyberpunk won last year for ongoing game for Phantom Liberty, essentially, right? The 2.0 update and stuff. But I think that would have made sense for Elden Ring. But we got Astrobot as the winner of the game of the year. I think it's well deserved. I think it's great that we see somebody outside of Nintendo going and really leaning into this 3D platformer, right? This family friendly 3D platformer, the way that Team Asobi did, and in a big way, right? Again, it's just like this coming from Sony as a first party title, as opposed to, you get some of these other developers like Playtonic, which are like a lot of the old Rare guys that made the Banjo series, that made the Donkey Kong series, games back, long time ago. It's cool that those guys exist. They don't have quite the platform, right? Quite the presence that somebody like a first party Sony studio does. So it's cool to see that, and I hope it encourages more, right? That it's been pretty good success. I don't think it takes a huge investment like some of these other games do. Like, we talk about like Spider-Man 2 costing like $300 million to make or something, right? I would guess that Astrobot did not take $300 million to make. It maybe took a tenth of that, right? And you can go out and sell a few million copies, right? And then you can view a game that sells 2 or 3 million copies as a success, as opposed to needing to sell 20 million copies to break even, kind of deal.
Right.
And then also you bring attention to different audience than your over the shoulder third party action, cinematic action game, that Sony's iconic for. I would love to see other big publishers, bring this to the table, these types of games to the table, whether it's 3D platformer or not, just something that's a little more just different from the status quo.
Yeah, the Souls like and RPG heavy, very heavy, right? We enjoy those, we love those, but it's good to see this get recognition. I mean, the game's just fun, man. It performs extremely well. We talked about that in the show already. It's fun. It's innovative. It makes you feel like literally like people talked about it during the awards. Like it just brings you that joy, like when you were a kid, and like this is why you play games, because it's fun to like do these different things and these wacky levels, and these crazy power ups and fun stuff with the controller. You're finding some collectibles, so you're feeling smart and adventurous. You're finding secrets, and those are the things that when we were kids, that's what you did in games, and that's what made them fun. And again, we liked RPGs and the leveling up, but sometimes it feels like a job, right? And you got to dedicate all this time. And Astrobot's just fun, man. It's just so much fun to save these robots. And you see like, oh, I know that guy. He's from Ape Escape. And oh, I know that one is from Uncharted. And like, it's just fun for everybody. It's really cool to see them win.
Yeah, that's you mentioned Ape Escape. That's a game that I forgot to mention last week on our handheld. I played a lot of that on PSP, and oh man, that's a real. I would love to see that franchise come back too. But yeah, I mean, I like I said, I generally try to just like make sure I give my little nudge to Nintendo being better at what it does than this. But like, I mean, this game coming out, this game was almost worth like $500 to me, in the sense of I was trying to think of a way to justify going and buying a PlayStation 5 just to play this game. I don't really have any significant interest in any of the other games that are exclusive to PlayStation that I can't play on my Steam Deck, which I guess isn't exclusive to PlayStation, right? But say there's not anything that this game alone has had me consider spending $500 or whatever to be able to play it, which is wild to think, right? So does some pretty cool things, and
good
I'm
mascot.
going to find a way to play this at some point in my life. Yeah,
I was just saying, good mascot. If it's got you thinking about getting a console,
it really. Yeah, right. It's that's pretty cool. I mean, Kratos is probably the mascot for PlayStation at this point, right? But is in terms of something that just provides a little bit of fun, a little bit of I mean, there's nothing more iconic in gaming than Nintendo and Mario, right, as a mascot, or Pikachu and Pokemon, and it's just like that provides so much more appeal because you increase your market size to a good chunk of the the demographic that's going to be playing video games, and young children, or just and it appeals to young children and adults, right? Like, I mean, we are we're adults, and it's not like, oh, I can only have Kratos now. I can't enjoy Astrobot or Mario or Pikachu, right? Like, yeah.
And what a cool moment too, when they did their Game of the Year speech, and he said, you know what, I'm not really supposed to do this, implying that their companies are competitors and they don't like each other, but I'm going to give credit to Nintendo. He didn't say them by name, but he called out Mario Brothers. Right. He called out the NES and said, hey, this is we cannot make this without Nintendo making those games. And that's what made us love games, right? So that was cool to see that, to break down the wall for a minute and say, forget corporate, forget this, dev to dev, you guys inspired us and we loved it. And that was just really special, I think.
So, gonna sound silly, but you bringing that back up just took me back to the speech or whatever, and I just started getting goosebumps again. That was to me easily the best award acceptance speech I've ever seen, at least in the Game Awards, right? That was just it was just so cool to see, somebody go, because it's like PlayStation, Nintendo have been such stiff competition, really, for 30 years at this point, right? So and like you said, it was just so cool to just sorry, I had a little water in the back of my throat. I had a cough.
I thought it was a sneeze attack.
Yeah, no, it was it was such a cool acceptance speech, and it was like, gosh dang it, like this and something we'll probably hopefully get into here shortly. Just really giving me having PlayStation pull at my heartstrings for first time ever, maybe, like this game, and then something else we got to see. But yeah, pretty cool.
All right, we're about an hour and a half in. So what we're going to do in this last 30 minutes, speed run any percent of going through the announcements of the games that were announced, in the ads and stuff at VGAs. So we will scroll through them in announcement order, and I think we're just going to do rapid fire, and then we think probably towards the end we'll have more thoughts on some of the bigger hitters. So without further ado, let's get started. Ninja Gaiden.
Off, right?
I'm just going to scroll through the timeline here. Ninja Gaiden.
Let's just go through them all, and then we'll go back. We'll just talk really about what highlights were for us.
Okay. Just stop me if there's a highlight. One Move Away. Slay the Spire 2. I got to stop. This game, first time we got gameplay, we could see the cards. This game looks awesome. They did give us a fake out in the trailer where the date was going to change. And then it went back to 2025 and said still coming in 2025. So no delay, no move up. Super exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, if we're going to pause, the Ninja Gaiden game looked sick.
Yeah, that's why I tried to give you the opportunity. Like, I don't want to scroll back.
Let's go through all of them, and then we'll talk about the things that really were highlights for us.
Yeah, just stop. Let's just stop. You got it.
Okay, yeah. No, it's from the maker of Blasphemous, which I actually didn't realize, which is actually kind of insane too, because they just had Blasphemous 2 come out, I think, earlier this year, if not
they did. Last year. Yeah, I bought it.
And unless that was somehow a different dev, but I mean, it looks sick. Like you were a fan of Ninja Gaiden back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So definitely, I don't know. I love these types of games. Something like The Messenger as well, right? Dead Cells is a roguelite that I kind of like in this similar type of genre. Pretty sick.
One Move Away. We talked about Slay the Spire 2. Any comments here?
No, I'll probably check it out. I liked Slay the Spire, but I didn't love it as much as, say, you or a lot of people do.
Yep. Dave the Jiver in the Jungle DLC.
It is DLC.
I will. I'll check it out.
Oh, it's unclear of whether it's in a full expansion or full-blown sequel. Okay.
No, it says DLC trailer is what it's uploaded as.
Oh yeah, okay, I see that. Yep, I was reading the description below.
Thick as Thieves, stealth action multiplayer game.
Yeah, I don't know. I do remember this. But it doesn't stand out, obviously.
Shadow Labyrinth. This stands out to me.
Yeah, it does.
This is the Pac-Man one. We were like blown away. We're like, is that Pac-Man?
Yep.
And it's like
play button.
Yeah, it's like a Metroidvania style. Oh gosh, we're gonna mute that. But this is like a Metroidvania in a dark fantasy Elden Ring style, like art, 2D. Where you have
just
Pac-Man.
What you think of when you think of Pac-Man. Yeah, that's exactly what you think of when you think of Pac-Man, right? Is a dark, gritty Metroidvania Souls-like.
There he is. Look, there's Pac-Man, and he comes with you, and you can have him do stuff.
It feels like, how like you'll see like artwork on like Reddit or something where like people took like these old like beloved childhood like cartoons, video games or something like that, and they'll make these like dark, disturbing art. Like it felt like that, but like actually made into a video game, not just some random dude on the internet or random person on the internet.
And here it is, right here at the end. So you eat the bosses after to get their powers. Like, it's crazy.
Absolutely nutty. I think this is. I was like, this is putting Pac-Man back back on the map, right? Like,
right,
so cool.
Like Bandai's literally like, we want to make a Metroidvania, but like, what IP do we own? Pac-Man. Yeah, that's it.
Right. Wild, just nutty.
Steel Paws mobile game. I have nothing here.
Nah.
How about Kiora? We paused on this one
for me.
Yeah, Kiora.
Yeah,
This
so
is
from
the
the
one from
Kiora,
the Core Keeper
Kiora
devs.
deals. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because Core Keeper just feels like an isometric top-down style Terraria, right? And then Kiora just looks like Terraria. It's like, okay, they just like took the game that they made that was, looks like a game that exists and made the game exist. It's almost like when you get like a, a a board game that was made about a video game that was made about a board game. Like so it's kind of funny, or the other way around or something like that, right? When you see stuff like that happen. But yeah, like when you see the Slay the Spire card game came out, right? It's like
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. You seem to be a little put off by this because you're just like, oh, it just looks like Terraria but worse, right?
I mean, I'm interested.
I think the art
I'm
direction.
interested. I liked Core
Yeah.
Keeper. My kids like watching me play Core Keeper, and they'll try and play it. And I love Terraria. So
yeah, I like the art here. It's striking art, right? I love pixel art that uses good lighting, right? It's just like we're in an age of like where it's just like pixel art. It's like so good. It's the best. I feel like the best it's ever been. Maybe I don't know. I might get some heat for saying something like that, but just like the lighting that you're able to do, right? That weren't even capable on like 16-bit systems, right? Because it's like, oh, it looks like it's from the Super Nintendo, but really the game couldn't exist on the Super Nintendo in the visual with the visual fidelity that it has just because it has pixels, right? It doesn't.
yeah.
But it looked right. Yep.
Anyway, Sifu Studio Slow Clap, their follow-up, of course, to no surprise, is a football soccer game that did not look very special at all to me. Maybe I'm missing something.
I didn't see enough here, right? Because like I think that I love like the idea of like, we talked while we had the watch party, right? That we watched the Game Awards on the Discord. Again, just keep plugging that Discord because it's where our community exists, and that's what encourages us to do what we do here. Yeah, I was saying it kind of looks like, I was like, it potentially has like almost Rocket League. We're going to go back to a game made about a certain type of game that is about a certain type of game again, like we were just saying with
same thing. Yeah,
it's like it looks like a soccer game that's made about a Rocket League, like that's made to look like Rocket League that was made to look like soccer, right? But I do want to see more. I just didn't get enough because, like you said, nothing really stood out about it. But
the
I love
wall
like
is
I
it
love the
like
EA,
the arena wall,
the EA big like. Right. Yeah. Like I want to see something happen here. Give me some special powers or something that like makes it like that makes
spoiler
it, right?
alert. It's not going to happen. I think it's just a soccer game.
Spoiler. I mean, Sifu was a really good game, right? And
yeah, but
I just
don't know.
wanted to point out, like, I loved the FIFA. Let me call out the games that I want this to look like. Like
it's
FIFA
not
Street,
going to look
Street,
like it.
NFL Street, but or Mario Strikers or something. But I'm hoping it's more of the street style games. Anyway, continue.
Solasta 2. I think we were in here wondering if this was like a Divinity game or what it was. We'll cut ahead to some of the gameplay. I think we were like, "Oh, is this like Baldur's Gate? A new Divinity?" We weren't really sure, but
the narrator from Baldur's Gate.
It looks amazing. It looks cool.
Yeah, it definitely looks pretty good. It looked pretty interesting. I'm sure we'll keep our eye on it. Yeah, because it does definitely looks a lot like Divinity Original Sin 2, right? Like it's kind of coming from that type of style. So it's good to see competition in that space.
The game that blew the doors off and also made Evan go buy a game, which is shocking. Like within the same day.
I don't buy games.
The Witcher 4 gets its reveal. Well, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, it looked fantastic. It's CD Projekt Red does. I mean, when I say it looked fantastic, right? It's it was just a cinematic trailer, but when you see CDPR, announce something, you're clearly getting hyped for it, and it just pretty stunning cinematics, even I would say, and there, I'll ask you your feedback and then kind of give you my post show thoughts on it. The post show clarity. But I bought Witcher 3 complete.
Like, sorry. The trailer is like 6 minutes long. Incredible Blizzard level cinematic trailer. Obviously the game's a few years away. We got the big reveal that Ciri is going to be the main playable character, which is freaking awesome. Ignore what everybody says online. I can't stand all these entitled whiny gamers on Reddit and stuff just complaining about anything and everything. Monday morning quarterbacking their favorite video game franchise, or maybe not their favorites. They don't want Ciri to be the protagonist.
Oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, let them cook, let them make the game. The story will explain what happened, and we'll go from there. And if it's bad, then we'll be mad. But for now, let's get freaking excited because this looked awesome.
Yeah, right. Did it look good? Because it looked good. Like, why do we gotta complain? But or at least about something like that. Like, yeah, like you said, like just jump into conclusions. Anyway, yeah. So, obviously, like it's a hype trailer. And then it caused me to go, like you said, buy Witcher 3 complete because it's $10 on Xbox right now, and I believe the same on Steam. I was looking at it. I was like, oh, Witcher 3 is $8, and then they got me with the upsell because I'm almost certainly never going to play the DLC. I'm not even sure I'll end up playing this game, but but
you're going to get stuck
DLC,
on playing
to get the complete edition. Probably, but the complete edition was an extra $2, and I was like, I mean, am I really going to miss $2 if I don't play the DLC? And is it more likely that I'd be kicking myself if I do want to play the DLC that I didn't get it for $2, right? So,
yep.
Or the complete edition, But I will say, to dial it down a little bit on this, this really reminds me of what we got with the the first Cyberpunk cinematic trailer, right? Which came out way too early, and it wasn't as that you didn't get as much information out of that initial trailer, right? As you did, but it's like that initial cinematic trailer for Cyberpunk really didn't represent anything that the game was in the long run, other than a Cyberpunk themed RPG. And even the RPG part was just inferred because it was CDPR. But it makes me a little concerned. I would say the one big as great as CDPR is and what they do. One thing that one glaring issue that they've had is their last two releases have come out at at less than stellar performance. The games have been almost incomplete, right? Like, we had to wait until Cyberpunk 2.0 for it really to be even playable for a lot of people. And once it was just an absolute masterpiece. And, I'm just a little worried that they haven't learned, or they haven't taken any, or if they have learned, they just don't care. And they're not going to, that this, we're going to get a Witcher 4 that comes out and it's broken and it doesn't perform well. I mean, and it's not representative of what they end up actually having the game be 2 years later. Right. Like, so it's like, I was looking at my playtime on Cyberpunk from when it first came out. I put almost 100 hours into the game, and, I haven't beaten it. And it's like, I put over almost 100 hours game, and if I try to jump into play that can just continue the game that I was playing, I wouldn't be playing the same game, because the game that released, not early access, the game that released right at 1.0 is is not at all even representative of the game that it came out into as 2.0 last year, right? That we have today. The game that I can play today is just like, I have to start over. Basically the 100 hours I put in was more like what Baldur's Gate 3 did with early access, as opposed to where it was very clearly identified as, this is not representative of what the final product is. And it's like, yeah. So I'm worried.
So you're worried that they did this too soon, and that it's going to repeat the same mistakes.
Yes.
I think it's a fair criticism. I think it's fair criticism, but I'll also push back on this, because the game director and maybe even some of the other developers as part of CG Projekt Red have been saying, like, hey, we recognize we made these mistakes. That's not going to happen with this game. And of course, you're taking their word for it. but it's better
Right. I
than
was
them
saying they can say
hiding
what
and
they
then
want.
just running and doing this over and over, right? They're saying like, hey, we're going to try and do things right. We're going to learn. And that's the first step to actually doing that. The wrong step would be to say nothing and just do this. Second, on this is that the trailer's not too early, in my opinion, because it's one of two things. One, it gets investment, and two, it's a hiring mechanism as well, which is very common in an industry that a lot of gamers don't think about because they're not thinking about it from a developer standpoint. Is that they put these out and say, "Hey, we're working on this project. Look, it's badass," and that gets more people to apply for their job. Of course, we probably all thought they were working on Witcher, but now it is official. And you'll get people wanting to join in and work on that or do contract work or reach out to them, whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess that's fine as pushback. I definitely,
But I agree with you. They have to
yeah.
they have to prove it, right? They burnt us.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you're
They can
totally
say
right.
whatever they want. We have not had any evidence to suggest that they will do things differently other than words, and words don't really mean much, right?
Right. The other big announcement, there's Elden Ring game coming, but it's not a mainline game. It's a spin-off. This is a co-op roguelite action adventure RPG game set in the Elden Ring universe, adjacent. We were told later on, and there's even, if you watch the trailer and you're familiar with Souls games, there's some characters from Dark Souls 3 in here as well. So nobody really knows what's going on, but personally, I think the game looks pretty cool. I love roguelites. I liked Elden Ring. I love the theme, so I'm interested to see how this one plays out.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. It kind of looks like they almost dip into. It kind of feels like a dipping into the Monster Hunter, type of game a little bit, but with as a Souls like, right, as a FromSoft game. But it's also roguelite, which is not Monster Hunter, right?
Right.
But yeah, no, it's curious. I mean, it's a good way for them to have more steady output, right? More consistent output for their fans, which they clearly have, right? There's some people like, as somebody that's not deep into Souls likes, it's like it's almost exhausting to see how many Souls likes come out. But this gives just a different type of experience for the fans that can't get enough of it, right?
Yeah, it's cool, and maybe it'll reach new people, right? Maybe it'll get some other people trying it out.
Yeah, that's a good point too. It's like maybe playing a Souls like by myself is something I'm not really interested in, but like if it's a social experience, of more social experience, right? Like maybe I have a little more interest into it, right? And it is different to have a team doing some kind of. I am curious with like I said, going in with a team doing a Souls like combat. What that like, right? Where you're communicating, right? Like, oh, I need you to do this. Go for the blah blah blah. Like that type of thing, and your different classes and your different builds, right? That you're participating and having this that synergy or whatever with, right? It's it's an interesting thought, and so. Yeah, maybe Elden Ring will be in the Game Awards, 3 years in a row, or 3 out of 4 years?
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming to PC. Catley photorealistic game. I don't want to really get into the weeds on this. I think we could pick it up on the Discord, but this is the game that's like AI generated and getting a lot of controversy. I'd rather spend our efforts on other games, unless you have something to add here.
I agree.
Okay.
I don't really
Yep. Project Robot. This was met with a lot of excitement because Fumito Ueda is doing this. So Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and forgive me because I'm forgetting the third one, Last Guardian. This looked cool, but it didn't really tell us much. We're like, okay, he climbed a robot and flew away. That was it.
Yeah.
Outer Worlds 2. Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, that's fine. I was just gonna say I played a little bit of Ico, but I haven't Shadow of the Colossus always looked really epic, and I would be interested in playing that at some point, but I just haven't.
Yep. Outer Worlds 2 new trailer, 2025 release window. I know you love the first one. I was lukewarm on it. I liked it, but it wasn't enough for me. I think I was just looking for something different at the time, but I'm definitely interested in this one coming out.
Yeah. For me, Avowed has been my most anticipated game of next year. Avowed or Fable for a while, and this now jumps kind of into that list of what might be right. The first game was I call it a snack size Fallout often, and as these are developers of the developers Fallout 3 Part 2 New Vegas, as they said it in the as the trailer. First off, just great humor. I love the humor that they had in the trailer, right? And the first game had a lot of like just that dark like corporate capitalism, like super capitalism humor in it, as far as like just exploit your low level employees to the bone, right, to the grave. And but it's just like it pokes fun, right, in a political just excellent game anyway, the way they do the humor. And I'm definitely in a place where it's like consuming which I just kind of expect this to be, again, not as expansive as a Fallout game or an Elder Scrolls game, which I again expect from Avowed as well, right? But still provide that type of experience, that type of that I loved when I had a lot more time to just invest 6-7 hours in a game session to play those games over multiple nights, right, and get hundreds of hours in. I put in maybe 50-60 hours into Outer Worlds, and I just love being able to do that. It's a little more consumable, especially again with young kids, where it's like I can play an hour or two, maybe a night, especially these types of games, right, that where I can't really play in front of them as easily. It
makes a lot of sense. No, so you're hyped for this one.
I am absolutely. I knew we knew this was coming, but we did not know it was coming in 2025, and that to me is absolutely insane. Like I was like, Obsidian has Avowed and Outer Worlds coming out. I know they have multiple teams or whatever, but the fact that they like the output that Obsidian has is, it's like they are definitely in my head like a comparable like to Sony's Insomniac.
They just churn them out
in a world where it's just like PlayStation hardly has any games. It's like Insomniac puts out like 3 or 4 games in the span that like their other studios put out one, and it's kind of the same thing with Obsidian and Xbox's studios. Just fantastic, which it's great because these games are right up my alley.
Yeah, I love it. And it's gonna be on Game Pass, which is great. So, all right, it is after 1 a.m. for me, and I have to work tomorrow, so we're gonna keep rolling through. So if I cut you off, it's not because I'm trying to be mean. Split Fiction. What do you think about this one? I was pretty excited about this. I even had my wife watch it, and she's like, "Okay, I think I would play this with you."
Yeah, absolutely pumped. Same thing. I didn't get my wife necessarily pumped about it, but she really enjoyed what we've played so far of Takes Two, and has us both wanting to kind of jump back into it. And it looks fantastic. I mean, these guys know exactly what they're doing. The dude has a pretty good sense of humor. He's a little
eccentric,
blunt, or a little forward. Yeah. But it's there's at least a humor to it, right? And exciting. We'll keep on moving. I don't want to just sit here. I can gush about
no worries.
This, though.
There's like 20 different genres in this too, which is like really mind bending to me.
It's really cool. They really know what they're doing. There's no reason to think it won't be excellent.
Steel Hunters, I think this is from the World of Tanks Studios, so this will be like one of those online continual games. It looked really cool. I'm probably not going to end up playing it more than just trying it, but I know a couple of people in our Discord called out that they were interested in this. So look cool. Any thing with this?
It looks cool. I may or may not check it out.
Lawn Dark 2 Black Frost. I think both of us were like, "Ooh, what is this?" when it was playing. So I haven't played the Lawn Dark, but this game looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the Long Dark as well, and it just like it's got a good atmosphere, good vibe going. This is one that we were like, it kind of looked, I kind of like this visual style for like a narrative game, right? Or just like a more of like a narrative exploration game and stuff like that. So set the tone, and I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
makes me want to go play the first one because I've not played the first one.
Yeah, same. Borderlands 4. I'm a big Borderlands guy. 3 was not great. Love 2, love 1. Hoping that this one is not like predatory and all this DLC and monetization or anything like that, and that the story is way better.
Okay, so you can expect that won't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Borderlands is always a series that I've wanted. Like I want to enjoy it. I want like everything about it screams like I should love this game. Just playing with friends and something. For some reason it just doesn't. It just hasn't registered. It hasn't clicked with me. I love the again. It's got pretty good humor and just the atmosphere, the wasteland type of post-apocalyptic setting and stuff. Just pretty cool. But so hopefully maybe this one will be the one.
Yeah. Kind of up your alley, a Final Fantasy 16 character coming to Tekken 8, which is cool for people that are fans of this.
Yeah. It's interesting. Tekken usually stays a little more grounded with its characters, and this one a little more over the top.
Yeah. Splitgate 2 gameplay trailer. You and I played some Splitgate 1. We liked it a lot. It's kind of that Quake Halo-ish with Portal.
Yeah, apparently we're the only ones that have played this.
I know, like nobody's heard of it. I'm like, okay.
Right. Yeah. No. There's definitely more people and stuff that played it, but I was shocked at how many people haven't heard of the first one. Right.
Right.
Like it almost makes me. I'm like, is this like a Helldivers type thing where it's like we were the only people that played the first Helldivers and no,
Right.
Helldivers 2 came. Hopefully this blows up the way Helldivers did. Helldivers 2 did.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm not too big into shooters and stuff anymore, but I'll definitely be jumping in to check this out. Right. I'm assuming it's going to be free to play as the first one was, and yep. I had a lot of fun playing the first one, so I'm looking forward to at least checking this one out.
Agreed. Virtua Fighter coming back on the 30th anniversary, so that's cool. Fans of fighting games, yeah. I think that's pretty awesome.
I would say this is a big franchise to return in the fighting game regards. Get another grounded fighting game.
I don't recall seeing this one, so I'm gonna pass unless you got something here for Project Century.
Yeah, so it's another game from the Like a Dragon Studios. So we've got the Pirates in the Caribbean or Pirates in Hawaii game coming out from Like a Dragon Studio. They are doing Virtua Fighter and they are doing this game. I talked about Obsidian's output. I don't think anybody outputs has a more insane output than RGG. And Sega's got 2 of these studios that have incredible output with Atlas as well, right?
Yeah.
And but yeah,
they're
yeah. This one kind of
they're in the news a lot for assets.
Game. It was
like they defend that.
It was like, say again.
Oh, sorry, we had a little bit of a delay.
I don't know if it's me or you.
Going across the continents.
Yeah.
No, they're in the news a lot because they talk about how quickly they can churn games, and it's because they reuse a lot of assets, and they're like, we don't care what people think. Like, if we have the assets, we're gonna reuse them.
I like that mentality, to be honest.
Yeah. Big announcement: Turok Origins. I liked Turok when I was a kid. Played that on N64. Did you like Turok?
It was always like I always loved this from afar. Like for whatever reason, my parents are like, no, you're not allowed to have this game. Like I was playing Duke Nukem and Mortal Kombat and and GoldenEye, but for some reason they didn't like Turok. So I don't know what it was, but yeah, I think this is a great time for Turok to come back in a big way. I feel like I've just like over the last few years, you've just been seeing a lot of love and nostalgia for the Turok series, and it's been a long time since we've had one. And while people are clamoring for Dino Crisis, here's a good dinosaur, a legacy dinosaur franchise that we can get something.
Yeah, it looks cool. I'm interested. Warframe 1999 got its trailer. I just don't have the time for Warframe, so it looked cool, but I'm gonna pass.
Yeah, you either play video games or you play Warframe, but you can't do both.
Pal World update. The update looks pretty cool. Also, Pal World update. They're not going to throw the ball anymore. They're just going to hold the ball, I guess. And that's going to get around the lawsuit that's going on. So,
I would love if they find like a good cheeky way to just get rid of the ball tossing mechanic.
Yeah.
I hate that so much. I love Nintendo. Hate that.
Yeah, that's the worst part about Nintendo. Onimusha, Way of the Sword, coming in 2026. There was a lot of fanfare and excitement for Onimusha coming back from Capcom, who's on fire.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, and they actually have was there actual gameplay, right? Yeah. So it looked good.
I think there was.
First Berserker Kazan. When we were on the live stream, you guys had never heard of this, which I was originally think was announced at either Gamescom or the Xbox studio. Kind of a Souls-like-ish action RPG, dark fantasy game. This was just a cinematic, but I'm looking forward to this game.
Yeah. Once you brought it up, it was like it so slowly kind of like memory of this started trickling back from whatever showcase it was in. But definitely want to keep my eye on it. If this is coming out in March of next year. It's like just a loaded next year. So whether I get to it or not is to be seen.
And if it's on Game Pass, there's a big boost.
Yeah.
Dying Light, The Beast, just gets a release window. So I played the other Dying Light games. They're a lot of fun. I'm not rushing out to play this one, but if I hear really good buzz about this when it comes out, I might look into it, or at some point when it goes on sale.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I played a bit of the first one. I look forward to seeing how this one's received because they put out pretty solid games.
Yep. Stage Fright. What do you think of this one from the makers of Overcooked?
Yeah, I mean, another just like co-op focused game. It looks like it in the same way that like Split Fiction in that studio does. This looks like it's exclusively co-op, right? You can't play this single player. It is very tight, which I just love that games like this get made. Because co-op experiences can be so cool, especially like couch co-op. That something like this still exists. There is still an audience for it, right? And the fact that we got two games in this award show that both looked really promising, pretty cool.
Yeah. Game of Thrones, King's Road. So this was an interesting one to pop up. Was this one? It's going to be a mobile game, right? Or I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is a mobile game.
It's Netmarble, so it probably is.
Yeah.
So I'm out on this. I like Game of Thrones. I'm out on that.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm. I mean, like it just looks like it is. It doesn't do anything different than the show did, right? Like it looks like it's just the same story. I mean, the characters look the same, identical. I don't know if they have the same voice actors or not, but it's just if it comes out and gets great reviews or something like that, maybe I'll check it out because we both are big fans of the show. But yeah.
Yep. Last of Us Part 2 remaster coming to PC, which is awesome. We knew that was coming eventually, April 3rd. Sonic Team Racing.
It's incredible how many.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it's incredible how many how many new release announcements Last of Us 2 Last of Us games gets. I feel like I've heard Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2 get released like 12 times since the first game came out.
Right.
Sorry.
Sonic Team Racing is coming back, so this will be cool, I guess. I like some of the old Sonic Racing games.
Yeah, I'm with you. Cool. Got some Shadow in there. Looking forward to it.
Can you talk about Mafia, Old Country, and Dispatch? I just need to pause for a quick second. I'm going to mute myself if you want to cover these.
Sure. Yeah. So Mafia. It's funny when the Century game or whatever from the Yakuza devs was coming up. I was thinking that I was like, is this going to be the Mafia, the Old Country, or something? I couldn't remember exactly what the subtitle was. I knew it was like something like Old Country. But I was like, is this going to be a Mafia game in Japan? And it was but it ended up not being that. So we got Mafia, the Old Country. And this trailer looks really cool. I mean, a lot of love for the Mafia remaster came out last year. I haven't played too much of. I haven't played any of the Mafia games, but definitely, I don't know, the setting stuff really appeals to me. I'm looking forward to jumping into that one. Again, usually something like if something's on Game Pass, it's a lot more likely that it gets played for me. So maybe I'll just jump into the remaster. Dispatch is from the previous Telltale devs that did like The Wolf Among Us and Tales of the Borderlands or Tales from the Borderlands. This looks like almost like a 90s style cartoon game being played out as a Telltale type game. I usually haven't been big on the Telltale games. I've tried a couple of them, and I generally prefer something like a Life is Strange or a Oxenfree, where like the choices are a little bit different. But this one really grabbed my attention and is certainly one that I'm going to have my eye on. But again, 2025, I would expect this to be a relatively short experience, so it might squeeze its way in for me next year. Because like usually, if a game is like 4, 5, 6 hours or something, and I can get it on a decent sale or play it through Game Pass, I'm much more likely to like, oh, okay, I can do this in a couple evenings and be done with it, right, and move forward. So I'll definitely have my eye on that one. It looks really cool.
Yeah, I know some people in the Discord were excited about that too. And we were like, okay, is this a show? Is this one of those
Yeah.
Netflix experiences where you play along? And then it made more sense once we saw the
Yeah. The
studio.
first 2 minutes, you weren't sure if it was going to be a show or a game, and then you started having some dialogue choices. You're like, oh, okay, this is a game, which to me is really, really cool. Like, I really like, again, if I can get that in a pretty short experience as a video game, it's I like being able to do that as doing getting a little variety in what I'm playing.
Right. Okay, one of the major like top 5 announcements was the Okami sequel. Doesn't even have a name. Not number 2 Okami
That's the
sequel.
name, right? Okami sequel.
Yeah.
Oh, you can just
Um,
skip past this one.
have you played the original Okami?
I have played the original Okami for at least a couple few hours. And man,
It's
I
very
was I was
similar
so
to
excited when I picked it
Zelda.
up. Apparently, but it was I didn't see that. To me, it just felt like a very like poor version of Zelda. um,
Oof.
I only played a couple hours of it. Maybe I need to give it another whirl. It looks like a game I should love, but like I've also heard that same sentiment from some other big Zelda fans. So I don't think I'm alone necessarily in that thought. Um,
Hmm.
but it's like, do I really need? Do I really want to put 5, 6, 7, 8 hours into a game just to decide if it's like going to be a game I may or may not like? If I already feel like I'm just not feeling the draw to this game, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I'm looking
Um,
forward to this one
and
so
and
much
I,
so
I
that
don't
I think I'm
see
gonna go
something
back and
other
pick up
than the claim that
Okami.
it has, huh?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go back and pick up a copy of
It
Okami and
gets
play it.
pretty decent sales.
Yeah, it's on sale right now on the
Yeah,
eShop for
it gets
five
pretty
bucks.
decent sales. There you go. Yeah, that's why I
Yeah,
have it. Right, I have it on the Switch, and I picked it up for
yeah.
probably the same price.
Which is the best place to play it, probably because of the painting aspects with the Joy-Con.
Sure.
Okay, the big mic drop moment. Naughty Dog's next game, sci-fi hack and slash, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. What were your thoughts on this 4-minute trailer?
So earlier talking about Astrobot and the awards part of the show, I brought up that there was possibly a second reason that really is drawing me to a PlayStation 5, a PS5, and this is it. And this is the cyberpunk sci-fi um, look to this game. I mean, it's just kind of like it made
Retro
me think a little bit of the,
futuristic.
oh man, just yeah, give me that 80s style futuristic like aesthetic, and like man, you're already like 80% of the way to a sale for me. Like and do it well. Oh man, and it's like, I mean, Naughty Dog has a legacy. I mean, they don't have a ton of games that were necessarily for me. But I did play, I mean, probably 80% of the Last of Us on PS3 before I just dropped it because I didn't have the pull to finish it. But this looks super cool. Um, you know, regardless of what the main character here looked like, we won't get into that again. But like we did with Siri being picked for the main character in Witcher. But uh, the game looked. I mean, I don't know, just like the detailed, drawn in world that's just gonna like suck you in, and just something like, I was talking to Funk last night on the Discord. Like something like Cyberpunk, like I put 100 hours. I don't remember putting 100 hours into that game, right? And I was like, I was not even close to the end of that game. And the reason, it's like I would go in and I would hang out in my apartment. I'd go to raves and I would just sit there and I would actually like participate. My role playing isn't necessarily with social interactions, right? With other characters as much as it is like existing in the world as it is, right? Like as if
Right.
it's a real world. I get sucked into the world itself, and this looks like one that I would just get sucked in, right? Like, and it's like, even the draw of like Fallout and like Skyrim for me is like, I'm walking around in the wasteland of Fallout, and I'm just like, I picture like, oh, like this would be where I'd set up my little, like, I find a little nooks and crannies and stuff. Like if I was by myself in a world like this, like this would be a great hiding spot. And I like imagine myself existing in this world, and I can absolutely imagine myself existing in whatever I was shown in this trailer.
Right. Yeah, I love everything about the aesthetic of this trailer. I love there's vibes of Alien. So not only does this chick look like Ripley, but the technology, that kind of 80s keyboard, but they make it look futuristic. This green font and Kumail Nanjiani there,
Yeah, right.
the picture. But just the technology where it's like what the 80s thought the future would look like, and then that
Yep.
that kind of like Akira inspired, the jacket, the red Porsche spaceship, and yeah, I just everything about this seemed awesome. And Naughty Dog, incredible track record. I love Last of Us. Uncharted is fantastic as well. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do next. And not only do they make great games, but they Last of Us Part 2 is like a technical masterpiece in some of the stuff it does, and an innovation, like with some of the technology they had with like laying in the bushes and the bushes moving in real time around you and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see what they pull off here with this.
So yeah, a lot of product placement in here as well, right? You had like Porsche and obviously Sony, because this is a Sony Naughty Dog game, and then there's something else that was pretty blatantly like a product placement. I'm going to say something that like was also said about Concord, and I don't want that to be taken the wrong way, because like the tech and stuff in there, like right in the CD grabbing thing, and like it kind of makes me think a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy, but like just the aesthetic that it had, right? You know, I mean, it was obviously Star-Lord has his tape deck, right, and his Walkman, but like still like that grabbing that CD, and it just still has that similar, like in the jacket, right, kind of makes me think a little bit of like what you I want to say Star-Lord's jacket or whatever, something, just that theme. And then but it also it pulled, gosh, I had something else that it just kind of gave me a little bit of reminding me. I mean, like I said, I mentioned Cyberpunk and stuff too, but like the tech kind of made me think a little bit of like a Blade Runner, or right, just a little bit, right? Like the screens, like the scan CRT type of monitors and stuff like that, and like just the setting, and it's like these are all settings and stuff that I absolutely adore. I don't know, looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to seeing this more. And between that and Astrobot, maybe I end up with a PS5 here, or if this might be a PS6 game, right? But
you got a stack of Nintendo games behind you you can trade in.
I do. I don't know if I can. They're usually in the back of the episode, but I'm standing at my desk today as opposed to sitting. But I definitely have an old collection of retro games that I'm looking to get rid of and sell and stuff. So if you're interested in some retro games, jump into the Discord, ping me. I got quite a collection. I got a buddy that's all selling a much larger collection as well. So, nice. That's a good point. I could probably find a way to get it if I sold some of the games that I don't touch. There you go.
That backlog. Yeah, man, I'm excited about that game, and I'm so over just the crying. Like, I go to Reddit, for example, or X or Blue Sky, and I'm like, let me see, like, how excited is everybody else? Because I'm just like really excited. Same thing with Witcher, like our buddy Funk in the Discord, and then you go on, you walk into the room, and it's like the meme from what's it called, with Donald Glover, and everything's on fire, and you're like, what is going on? And it's just people complaining about product placement. I'm like, guys, like, this is heavily inspired by this and this property. They're setting the tone, the theme. It's not like they're trying to make you run out and buy a Porsche spaceship. Not every gamer can afford a freaking Porsche. Nobody's trying to get you to buy a Porsche. It's setting the tone, the theme of the world and the universe that they're building to present to you. And all we can do is cry and complain. And I just want to sit here and talk to Evan and other people that are like excited to see what comes next.
Yeah. So I opened up, really what's generally a pretty reasonable place, Twitter, and after because I was just like, I opened up just to check on. I don't usually get too involved on Twitter, but we have one. Remote Play has one Twitter that I'll hop into every now and then. And I saw the PlayStation post that was in the feed or whatever, and I was like, oh, just like without even thinking about it, because like I was just excited about this intergalactic game. I was like, oh, I'll see what some of the comments and stuff were, and I was just like, oh, why did I come here? Like, and it's just like, to me, it's like there's certainly some nuanced thought and stuff to have about what was there and everything like that, and that's fine. But it's like, but why? Like, why do you feel so like that you have to go out and have this? Like, did the game look good or not? Like, I don't know. Can we just like talk about if the game looked good? Like, I don't know. It's like, and I mean, really, it's just like, all right, this is if Twitter is the place that this conversation is going to exist. I just want to exist on Twitter to have it,
right.
like, cause like, right. I don't really care about your thoughts. Like, sure. Like I said, I do have some nuanced thoughts and stuff on that, but like, that's not what I was thinking. I was just thinking about how good the game looked, like whether or not like, like, I don't know, just insane. And it was like, can we just enjoy video games again?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then just, like, it's not some, I don't know, it's not some random ass studio. It is Naughty Dog with one of the highest pedigrees, makes incredible games, and it's just crapping all over at the first sight of it. I'm like, come on, guys.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, but let's be real here. The reason is Naughty Dog is probably the reason for a lot of, because I'm sure a lot of these were still crying about The Last of Us 2, right? Like,
oh yeah, that's a good point.
It's the same people. So it's just like, oh, we got something to cry about again. We can go like just bash Naughty Dog again because of what they did to The Last of Us Part 2 or whatever. And it's just like, I didn't play Last of Us Part 2, but it's just like, I don't know, like if you don't enjoy it, like why let it take up so much of your headspace? Like why let something like that live rent free in your head if you hate it so much?
Just there's millions of games. Go play a different game. Yeah.
You only got so much time on this planet. Do it with stuff you enjoy, not stuff that you hate. Spend that time.
Right. Yeah, I don't get it. I
didn't want to get on a pedestal platform here to get like too whatever, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel it.
We got that out.
All right, I think that about wraps it up for us. We'll do a couple shout outs here. Just thanks for everybody that watched the last episode, participated in our giveaway, and that ATB sponsored, and we'll be doing more giveaways in the future as we discuss kind of what that looks like. Please hop into the comments. Let us know what was your favorite game in the VGAs, or that was either announced or given an award. Was anybody snubbed? Hit us up in the comments, and definitely join our Discord and let us know your thoughts there. Evan, you got anything to add in before we close out?
Yeah, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Unless you didn't like the video, then just give us a dislike. That's fine too. But don't unsubscribe. And leave it, or if you really hated it, leave us a comment about how much you hated it, or what you hated about it, right? Well, if you're still here, appreciate you guys being here and listening through, and we'd love to talk to you on Discord, like Mark said. That's really I think where our community thrives, and we have a great time there, except for Curtis. He doesn't exist on Discord.
Yeah, he's a ghost. He's somebody we made
or
up.
At all at this point.
He was made by AI, and you guys got all got fooled.
Yep.
All right, we'll close out episode 20. I'm headed to the beach. I'm going to the Great Barrier Reef for a much needed break, and then we will record again before the end of the year.
Yeah, have fun, and I guess Merry Christmas before the next episode, right?
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays for whatever you celebrate. Be safe, and I hope you get a lot of games. See you.
See you guys.